This is it, folks. The weekend starts right now. Welcome to the One Up Yours podcast for Friday, November the 16th. This is Garnet Lee, and I am ecstatic because I have I always say I have a great show. Always do have a great show.
Do you?
Yes, we always have a great show for you.
Are you sure?
Today's show is going to be fantastic because all the way from New York City.
New York City.
That was awesome.
Didn't even plan that.
Newsweek's Level Up blogger.
Yes.
Newsweek's Level Up blogger, Nguy Kroll, sitting here at the table with us. Dude, thank you for coming and welcome. And
yes, back by popular demand.
What else can I say?
Garnet, it's a privilege and honor. Is one of my favorite podcasts. Well, it's the only podcast really that I listen to, and I'm honored to be on it again. Thanks for having me.
Well, man, thank you for the compliments, and you know what? I just got to throw this in there because otherwise, what people say on the board, you ought to check out that GFW radio too because it's pretty funny. I like it a lot. I do actually. What do you think?
Isn't that called the Brodio?
97.5.
The Brody broadcasting on 97.5 on your FM dial.
It's pretty good, but it doesn't have Nguy Kroll.
That's right. That's Shane Bettenhausen, executive editor for EGM Magazine, here as always with us, and back from his first round of, I don't know,
What exactly?
gallivanting across the countryside. That would be.
Mark McDonald had some real adventures.
Did you?
I did.
Already. Near-death experiences.
I wouldn't say near-death experiences, but yeah.
So regale us.
Well, I don't want to embarrass anybody in particular, but I was up in Seattle. I got to visit a bunch of friends of mine. I was in like a car. A guy wrecked his car.
His Porsche.
With great guy. I'm not gonna because I don't. It sounds like a douche when it's like, yeah, he smashed his Porsche into a telephone.
Wait a second.
You're fine though.
So
I'm totally fine. Everyone's fine.
Was
it
this
was
one of those-
freak.
Luke Smith drives a Porsche. Confirmed.
Is Master Chief like airbrush?
Luke Smith is he's gone crazy since he's gone onto Bungie. He's always he's doing blow like constantly.
So wait. Was this like a casual wreck, or was this one of check out my Porsche, motherfuckers? This shit's awesome.
No, it was. There was a little bit of that I think mixed into it. Because it was a nice car. It was a nice Porsche, and it was going into a turn really fast, and. But anyway,
Did you run from the wreckage Gizmondo style?
no, we did not actually, but we didn't get the cops did not come, thank God. So that was the one. That was the bright side to it.
This reminds me of college. I managed to do the same thing in college, not with a Porsche,
wrecked a
obviously.
Porsche? Oh.
No, not with a Porsche. Obviously, I had no Porsche.
I've been in many
But
car
yeah,
wrecks.
I was driving way too aggressively and put a car through a curb, and
wouldn't have been drinking by any chance?
I was not drinking.
Okay.
So on today's
Let's just
show,
leave it at that.
So on today's show, we're going to do the big rundown. We're going to do what you've been playing in the first segment, and I love. Nguy described his what you've been playing to me as video game tapas. So he's got like
Interesting.
Small plates.
lots of little plates,
Small
lots
plates.
of stuff to do.
Sampling.
In the second segment, you love it. Mark loves it, and Nguy's still to be on it. It's going to be 4-minute warning.
Woohoo! You have the little ding.
I have no, I didn't bring the beding.
Fail.
Oh, well, you know what? During the no, we'll have the beding because we have a break. So I'll just run upstairs. I'll get the beding.
All right.
All right, and then in the third segment, we do have NPDs. Thank you. They have decided to let us have the numbers again. Everyone's happy
like,
about that.
They're like, people like numbers? We had no idea.
Oh my gosh. We've got that. We've got stuff on Xbox. We've got a poll on parents not gaming with kids. We've got the British labor guy asking for stats on video game murders. We've got all kinds of stuff.
Hard, casual, hard. What we're going to talk about some of that stuff.
We might bring that into the mix. Absolutely.
All right.
There you
A
go.
little Jack Thompson maybe if we're lucky. We can get Nguy to favor us with a tail.
That would be He Who Shall Not Be Named.
That's right.
When did Jack Thompson become Voldemort?
You really don't know?
All
right. So who wants to kick it off? So Mark, you start off. What other adventures you've been having, and what gaming adventures you've been having?
It's actually been nice because I have had more time just to play games in the last couple weeks than I've had probably in the last couple years, and this past week has been ridiculous. I mean, mostly I've just been playing the retail games, but I've been playing a couple games that came out early. So Assassin's Creed, which everyone is kind of talking about right now.
Yes, they are.
It's divisive.
Yes, indeed. So has anybody else here played it?
I want to play it. I haven't got a retail copy yet, but
That doesn't count. You do want to play it.
I
That's
really wanna
noted.
play it.
Okay.
I played the first hour and a half or so, or that's how long it took me to get to Damascus.
Okay.
And that's where I stopped.
And I watched Andrew play a lot of it, but I'm going to be with Shane. I'm not going to say a word until I played it, but I will promise the people who are listening, I will play the game because I know there's a lot of people who are eager to hear more opinions on it.
Well, I will definitely say, and Guy, I'm curious what your take is on it, because outside of the first 5 minutes, which I think they do this terrible thing at the immediate intro of the game.
Spoilers.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to spoil the first 5 minutes of the game.
But that's the thing is after I was watching Andrew play it, it's the premise.
It's the premise.
It is the premise, but they do a thing where you think it's the tutorial, you think you're being rushed through it. Anyway, throw that away. That's just an aside. The game is amazing in so many ways. I mean, just super ambitious. When you come up to that first city and you see it on the hill, and they totally do this great thing, you come up, I don't know if the music swells or I just remember it swelling, but you come up and you see this entire city and you're like, holy fuck, this is huge. Like, I can go everywhere in there.
Fully realized, beautiful city.
It's unbelievable, and it's not like, cookie cutter. It's very much like Crackdown is. Like, if every building feels unique, the way all of the buildings intertwine, and you are like,
scale, how would you compare it then to Crackdown? That's a touchstone a lot of people will recognize.
Right. Well, it actually shares a lot of similarities with Crackdown. In fact, if I had to compare it to one other game, it would probably be Crackdown.
Really?
Well, yeah, because you're grabbing flags instead of orbs.
There are a lot of people making that comparison, and the same people are like, if Assassin's Creed had online co-op, we might not have the divisive nature of the reviews that we're having.
Well, it is interesting because some people did fault Crackdown for its lack of a plot or a narrative, which Assassin's Creed definitely has. But the thing people are nailing, I guess you could say, Assassin's Creed 4 that I guess they gave Crackdown a little bit more of a wide berth on is the sort of repetitive nature of the game.
I think both Crackdown and Assassin's Creed, like, mission variety is the number one criticism on both games.
And it's a fair one, I think, on both.
Well, before we get too far away from this, I want to make sure size-wise, though. This Vista is amazing.
Well,
yes.
Is it like there's three cities?
Right, there's 3 cities, and there is a huge overworld in between all the cities.
Really?
I've heard that the overworld is like a Shadow of the Colossus-style world, and that there's nothing to do there.
That is a valid criticism. I mean, there's like little
pockets
side
of
quests.
violence.
Yeah, exactly.
So you come up on this hill.
There's-
Are you looking down at this one city that is the size of all of Crackdown, or one ward in Crackdown?
I'm not the best guy to ask, but I would guess about a third of maybe like a half of the city of Crackdown. But unlike Crackdown, you're never far enough away that you see the entire thing.
Okay.
I mean, I guess you get up high, you can see big chunks of it, but you're usually surrounded by skyscrapers or too close into the city. This, you see the entire thing. And the way that the game feels when you're running around the city, I think, is fantastic. I think they learned a lot from the multiplayer in the last Splinter Cell. The spies were just these ridiculously acrobatic Cirque du Soleil motherfuckers that were just like, you throw them at a wall, you throw them at anything, they grab it, they do it, and they look natural, and just, it's like poetry in motion, these guys moving. And you feel that way. You're like Spider-Man, except it's like realistic Spider-Man.
But, okay, I've heard here in the office two different sides to this equation, where, like, some people enjoy that the parkour, the running, the jumping, the grabbing things, it's all automatic and beautiful and fun, but other people are like, well, there's no challenge to it because it does everything for you.
It's not true, I would say, that there's no challenge, because what they do is they just change where you do it. So I'm curious to see if you had the same reaction I did, which is when you first start doing the stuff, you're tapping a button because you expect that to jump from a ledge to a ledge or climb from a point to a point, you're going to have to tap a button because that's the way most games do it.
Yep.
In this game, it's much more like driving a car or a vehicle. And so there is skill involved, but it's about picking your line through the environment.
And holding down the right buttons.
Holding down the right buttons, but basically just going from regular profile to high profile and like pushing forward. So you're just running forward or climbing forward and just basically choosing the line that's going to carry you best through the environment.
That's definitely a new paradigm for platforming.
It's totally a new paradigm for platforming, but I think it's actually really smart. And one of the things that I'm sure you guys know from the years you've been covering games is that when I first started covering games, I just assumed that it was more like a movie where the design document is the equivalent of script. You spec it out before, and then you go build the game, and that's it. But video games are made like an iteration. It's like you're trying and failing until you find stuff that succeeds. So Patrice Désilets, the designer of the game, or creative director actually, came in and sat with me as I played through the first 90 minutes. We talked about some things, and they actually tried doing what it sounds like some people in the office want, which is you tap a button, and it wasn't fun.
Yeah.
So the reason we have this is not because Patrice sat in a room in Montreal and dreamed it up. They tried that. It didn't work.
Yeah.
And now they've gone this direction. Personally, I love it.
Yeah, you're so right about picking the line. And, those people, this is not a Shadow of the Colossus. This is not a game where it's important to be holding the shoulder buttons down to feel the tension of you holding onto something that's trying to wildly throw you off. This is, if you were doing that stuff, your fingers would be so busted and gnarled after playing it for an hour. It's just, that is something that is actually a total breakthrough. And like N'Guy is saying, there's still plenty of room for skill in how you're going to get up this thing the fastest, which way you're going to go. There's still definitely room for improvement, but it's like a good fighting game. You can get away with just running at the wall, but if you really know what you're doing, you're going to go scale and just be really looking badass doing it.
I'm curious, how many hours into the game are you?
I would say I'm about 6 hours,
okay.
7 hours, and therein lies part of the rub. This is a game that I think definitely. It does this kind of, I don't think I'm ruining anything to say, it does this kind of Metroid setup where you start off with all of your powers and then they're taken away and slowly given back to you. Mm-hmm. Instead of feeling, I guess there's a little sense of getting empowered as the game goes on, but I was
are there the Crackdown style agility orb flag? I've heard there's flags, you see a flag and you want to go get it, right?
Right, there's a lot of that different kind of stuff, but the game, I was kind of wowed at first by how open and amazing and fully realized this really original world is. It wasn't like, dirt, dingy city of the future or the present or anything like that. It was really I felt like a new setting.
And the graphics are astonishing.
Amazing.
Okay, so I have a question about that because watching Andrew play it, I agree. I thought that the detailing in it was absolutely spectacular, but it all seemed to sort of have this singular palette to it where it was very...
Yeah, I would agree with you, but I think part of the reason for me that's powerful is because it doesn't look like EverQuest. It doesn't look like Oblivion. It doesn't look like
almost
World
really
of Warcraft.
anything
It doesn't look like the other. I'm not saying
it does
all
not
those
look
games
like anything
the same,
else. I agree.
Exactly. It's like, it just has this bright, airy, open feel to it. It looks distinctive. You're not going to mistake Assassin's Creed for another game that's on the market right now.
Yeah.
So you can go through this whole city. There's lots of buildings. Are most of those buildings off limits, though, so to speak?
There's a good chunk of the city. Yeah, you gain access. You have, I guess, like a third of the city. You start off in, I think, the poorest section, and then you gain access to the other sides. But it wasn't like that. Didn't bother me immediately because I felt kind of even overwhelmed even at the start. It's like, oh my God, where do I even go first? It's so huge. What happened to get to the other side of this, the statement about this game is that I was so wowed at the beginning by how ambitious and wide open, and aspects of the storytelling are really new and different, and just the way that cutscenes are handled and the stories move forward is really interesting. They do tons of really exciting things with it, but when it comes down to it, the gameplay, the missions, the things that move things along are kind of relative to the ambition shown by the rest of the game are kind of simple, and they're repetitive.
Cut and paste.
See, the repetitive part was what Andrew said.
Yeah, there's these three kind of types of missions, and there's some little variations and so on those, but for such a fully realized world to keep going back to these same types of missions, you're kind of surprised.
So it sounds to me, from listening to the outside, is that what the question comes down, if you're looking at this game, is how much does the mechanic of it going back and doing the same things frequently drag you down versus all of the atmospheric storytelling, sense of place, beautiful scene that it creates as an adventure.
Well, I think that's why you're seeing the scores you're seeing.
Right. I think some people are giving it more. I think it just matters how much you value a lot of the new stuff it's doing, a lot of like the real feeling you get.
It's funny because I went from being really psyched for it to being kind of obviously, down on it, like, oh my God, I'm going to be disappointed. To now I'm back to, damn it, I actually really want to play this game.
Well, I think we have more realistic expectations based on hearing all these things about it.
That's true. That's a very good point.
Something I should point out too, which I doubt any reviewer has talked about yet. N-Guy, did you kill any beggars?
I didn't.
You didn't?
No.
Did you not want to kill any beggars?
Well, it was so early in the game.
Oh,
for my
they hadn't
experience
got on your nerves yet.
No.
Because killing beggars is the secretly most satisfying, greatest part of that game.
Mark, you're only saying that because you live in San Francisco.
No.
Yeah, you are.
It has nothing to do with that.
It
has nothing to do with that. You're trailing a guy, and these beggars come on you, and they have one line of dialogue. And the designers must have known this. They must have made them annoying because I hope there's a mini game later on or something that you unlock, like a GTA, like Vigilante mode, like rid Damascus of all of the filth, of all of the beggars.
Taxi driver mode?
Exactly.
What about like an alms for the poor mode where you give them money?
But they come up to you and they
It's not very humanitarian, is he?
They stifle your movement. They get on you and they're like touching you, and you're just trying to trail a guy, and you're like, you can't move, and they're just annoying you.
I'm just trying to trail this guy. Leave me the fuck alone.
And they're saying the same thing of dialogue over and over again, and it's just so simple to just be like, and just nail them once, and they crumple, and nobody sees a thing, nobody knows anything. You're just like, shiv, and then like, you just walk along.
Because they're the least of society, no one really cares that another beggar's been killed.
Mark's one step away from walking down Market Street later on.
All I kept thinking was, my God, that guy outside of McDonald's, is it really that easy?
I've got the solution.
No, seriously. But it is, like, come on, you have to admit it. When you play it, you will admit it. It's like a dirty secret. It is like a... it's a secret enjoyment. I think anyone will get out of that game.
Well,
so
what else?
Mario Galaxy,
which I got to say is the polar opposite. Like, if from everything I've heard, Assassin's Creed, the problem is like it's repetitive, the same thing over and over again. And Mario Galaxy is the complete opposite.
I'm stunned. Like 20 stars in, and like I almost haven't done the same thing twice, even within the same level. It's not like Mario 64 at all. Where you're
within one star of one level.
Yeah.
There will be 4 different things you do.
It's crazy too because they take things that I would swear to be bad game design or that I don't like, and then they make me like it. Like, there's a monkey ball level early on where I'm like,
it's pretty fun.
This is going to be shit.
No, it's pretty good.
And it's good.
Yeah.
The way they do it is very different. But I would have said, just because of one game, I would have said, monkey ball type games with a Wii controller don't work. Wrong. They do. Mario Galaxy proves it. Something else I would say that I thought was true was in any platformer, like the more pickups that you have, the less that you care about them, right? Like, I was playing Ratchet. There's like a million gears. I don't give a shit.
The pickups in Galaxy are really, really smart because the star bits are optional, but if you do want to pick them up, which requires not a whole lot of effort, you do get a lot of extra men for that.
So you're saying Donkey Kong 64 syndrome. The oh my God, there's so many things I'm done with.
Well, not even like fetch quest stuff, just like, like old Amiga games used to have this terrible problem where there was just like a million little cakes and treats all over the level, and you were just supposed to pick them all up, and it was like, I don't even care anymore. Mario had very specific powers. Even the coins, there was like 100 of them, or so a level, and so you cared about them when you saw them. Even Sonic with the rings, I didn't care that much because there were so many of them. But the star bits, there's shitloads of them. They're everywhere, but I care about them. Like, I'm always looking around. I'm trying to pick them up.
Right, and the risk reward between star bits and coins, and whether you kill enemies by spinning or by stepping on them, it's really smart. And yeah, that game just never ceases to amaze me.
Well, since I haven't had a chance to play the game yet before I got on a plane to come out here, I'm curious. Would you guys say that Super Mario Galaxy is to Ratchet and Clank as Portal is to Prey? In terms of, for me,
that analogy is gross.
I had to. Let me throw it out there. Let me explain myself. I really loved the spherical worlds in the previous Ratchet and Clank games. I mean, they were really fun. And I can sort of see why Insomniac never really went that much further with them, because Ratchet is very much a shooter. But Mario has remained very much a platformer, and so as a result, they've blown it out, like taking these spherical worlds, bizarre surfaces, and really gone this direction. Mm-hmm. The reason I drew the analogy to Prey and Portal is because, Prey had portals before Portal.
Right.
But
Yeah.
Well,
totally.
Galaxy goes way further with Spherical Worlds than Ratchet ever did, but that's like the tip of the iceberg. Galaxy goes further with every single form of design and control than Ratchet ever did.
Oh, good God!
I love the Ratchet series. I think they're really good games.
Dude, your reputation as a Sony fanboy is quickly evaporating.
However, as I said last week, like when you play Galaxy, it really like. The first platformer in 5 years that, in my estimation, has moved the genre forward.
So I'm only, like I said, I'm only 20 stars in. I had heard such crazy stuff about this game, about it being, the Super Mario Brothers 3 to Mario 64's, Mario World or Mario 1. So I'll just say, like, so far, I'm very impressed. I'm really enjoying it. It's something new. It seems like a great game for me to pick up, play for a couple hours, put down. I'm getting a few of the, like, camera. Oh, I can't move the camera here. Why not? I'm getting a bit of like, oh, cool. I'm going to run to the other side. Oh, I'm not. I'm jumping off into oblivion kind of thing. But honestly, like, you'd be surprised how much it just feels natural. You just jump and you like are caught on something and you go do what you're supposed to do. And if you ever sat down and broke it down, I can't imagine like building that game because it does so many things that you just react and know intuitively.
That is the beauty of Mario, right? Is that natural? You just get into it. You very, very quickly within moments of picking up the controller, you're in the zone. You're playing the game. You're having a good time, and you're not consciously thinking left, right, B, A, Z.
Right.
What the fuck?
I mean, and 20 stars in, I gotta say, you have scratched the surface. Like,
right.
As much fun as I was having at that point, like I think the next 5 hours of the game and the 5 hours after that.
So can I make one request then, Shane? Can you stop positioning me where I have to defend Ratchet and Clank versus Mario? Because for me, they are very different games. The fact that they're three-dimensional platforming games as a foundation, they diverge a good bit from there. Ratchet and Clank is all about the guns, upgrading the guns, lots of shooting action, the graphics, which is definitely not a Wii forte. It doesn't even matter. I mean, Mario looks good, but we're not going to put the two up against each other.
I think I called it clinical.
Yeah, so
and the kids were kind of mad at me for saying it.
So quick request.
But then Variety went and called it like bad.
Can I stop defending Ratchet and Clank versus Mario because they're in different worlds?
I like Ratchet, but I think Mario just gives you a little perspective on
and I don't disagree.
The overall design.
I'm really looking forward to playing Mario, and I get where you're coming from of it advancing platforming, but at the same time, I'm really, really enjoying playing Ratchet and Clank. I go home and play it at least a couple of nights a week.
Ratchet and Clank Future,
it's so much fun.
I'm going to play through it. I've only played through like the first level, but I think that is like perfecting an established template.
Yeah.
Whereas
it is, and I won't argue that. I mean, I think that part of the reason I'm enjoying this Ratchet and Clank so much is that the last one I played was going commando.
Right.
So I mean, I haven't played every Ratchet and Clank, and if I'd played every Ratchet and Clank, I'm sure that I might actually be a little chiller
and I probably
on it.
wouldn't appreciate Galaxy in the way I do if Mario Sunshine hadn't existed. And I like Mario Sunshine, but this is such a leap forward.
Well, to bust out another analogy, work with me here. So when everyone thinks of the song "Nothing Compares to You," they think of Sinead O'Connor. They forget
about Prince.
They forget about Prince, right? So Prince recorded it first, but Sinead snatched it with that recording.
Yeah,
Prince tried to get it back when he recorded it with Rosie Gaines from New Power Generation. It didn't work.
The emotional rawness wasn't there.
Didn't work.
The real tear.
But when I saw Prince in Vegas, he had some new chick who I didn't know.
You went to Club 3121?
I went to 3121.
Did you get the bottle service and everything?
I couldn't afford the bottle service.
Not even you?
Not even me.
Jesus.
But Prince took it back. Like, he actually took it.
Really?
He took it to a gospel place, a fire and brimstone place that had everyone jumping up and down.
I like this analogy already.
So the reason I'm going to go with the analogy is...
He's been through some shit since then. He's using it. I'm glad to hear that.
In the last generation, I would say that Sony actually snatched character action games away from Nintendo.
In a sense,
with
yes.
Jack, with Ratchet, and with Sly.
Yeah.
But from what you guys are saying here, it sounds like Miyamoto and company said,
that's ours.
Y'all forgot about M.
Yeah, exactly. Because I guarantee, Ratchet and Clank Future, there are probably a few times when you're like, "Oh my God, I can't believe 7 hours into this game, I'm doing this." That probably doesn't happen a whole lot. Like, are you shocked by what you're doing?
Okay, no, I'm not shocked.
In Mario Galaxy,
no, I'm not shocked by what I'm doing.
10 hours and you're like, I can't believe I'm doing this.
But that having been said, I am thrilled by how much fun I'm having.
Okay. There's room for both. It's like perfecting an established genre rather than pushing it forward.
Right.
Yes.
Right. That's all I was saying. Because I've been playing a lot of Ratchet and Clank.
Okay, I don't know if we're going to talk about Galaxy its sales in Japan in news, are we, or should we talk about it here?
Well, you'll have a chance to work it in there. You'll have a chance because we got lots of sales stuff to work in there.
What else we play?
Anything else you want to work?
Yeah, staying on the Wii. You guys done Check Me Out at all?
No, it started on Sunday, right? You got it?
Yeah. Nobody?
No.
Really?
I don't own a Wii at home.
I've been playing on a Wii Bug all.
My Wii at the office has
Check
Me Out, or is it Check Wii or Check Me?
Check Me Out.
Check Me Out. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's called Take Me Out.
Yeah, I know. They could have had the theme song and
Take
everything.
On Me.
So the little challenges they give you, is that every day, every week?
No, they're kind of lame. They're kind of dropping the ball with that the same way in Everybody Votes. It's like Mario without his hat on. It's the only one. It's 3 days or 4 days, I don't know, since it launched, and 5 days probably. I mean, really, there should be a lot of those going on. I don't know if they're going to get real celebrities, all just going to be Nintendo characters, but like the shit people have done, and I thought I'd seen people do a lot of stuff with Mii's, but the shit people have done, like if you look at the top 50 of the most popular, like, there's vaginas in there, there's
so
Gray Fox.
So a child can go on to Check Me Out and download a vagina.
Of course, it's just V. The name is just V, and like the specialty is fighting. Like people get these like ways around doing it because you can only give your Mii initials.
Wait, I think I missed that connection. The fighting vaginas.
Well, so you can give your creation just an initials, 2 initials, and then a specialty, and you have to choose from a list of like 10 specialties. Where it's like speech writing or comedy or whatever.
I like how once again Nintendo has like draconian limits placed on everything.
Well, they have to though, because otherwise, everything. I thought that was ridiculous too at first, but then it's like someone's gonna have to sit there. Somebody probably already has to sit there, weeding out Mii's that look like dicks and vaginas, like full-time, 8 hours a day, clock in, like just scrolling through all of them.
I thought you said they're getting through.
Well, they are. They're in the most popular thing.
And as I said,
but it already just says V or VM.
This proves that we can look forward to fighting a Smash Brothers stage on a giant dick.
And what is
you can look forward to it at least. Shane.
What does it mean we have to look forward to on LBP? Oh dear.
So also, like,
people
make little pictures with the things that you can, use for people's faces, like Pac-Man. Like people have Pac-Man and a little ghost. It's ridiculous that people are doing. Anyway, look at it. My Dick Cheney is very popular on there. You can upload your own Mii's, and you get rated by how popular they are.
So dicks are allowed.
Those certain dicks, yeah.
My Dick Cheney is
famous dicks.
Let's move on.
Big
okay,
dicks.
let's get
wow.
Big
Next.
dicks only.
Next.
All right, Garnet. I know you're excited to talk about Mass Effect, so I am
actually totally thrilled to talk about Mass Effect because I've been playing it nonstop since I finally got a retail copy of it, and. Okay, so here's my impression of it so far, and I have not gotten past.
Did you finish the review copy?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
So my impression so far, because I've been waiting to play at retail, because this is like a question we're not actually. This is a question we're not going to get a lot of time to talk about in 4-minute warning. But one of those things people ask about is what's it like when you're a game journalist. I actually was glad I wasn't on the review because I'm getting to play this for fun and just have a good time with it. And so my impression so far is, that when they had that preview event in Edmonton, they just let us play the intro part that has the combat, and they cut us off before we got to the Citadel.
Okay.
And I'm surprised they did that, because when you get to the Citadel part, it starts to really take on that KOTOR evolved feel. And this game, so I mean, you can tell me if I'm wrong from being further down the road.
Is in KOTOR Advanced Warfighter Advanced?
No, not silly. I mean, I'm seriously. It feels very much like forget Jade Empire, forget that ever happened. This is where the next evolution of KOTOR goes with those guys at the helm.
Well, maybe it is the next evolution, because I played KOTOR, for like 10 hours, and I would say I enjoyed it, but I just got sidetracked onto other things. And this, I'm just really, really, really into it. Like it's
so you're
really,
staying focused. You're staying on the main track.
No. I mean, I'm actually just got to the part. I'm only like 5 or 6 hours in. I just got to the part where I can actually really go wherever I want to. But I've already been able to do a little bit of stuff on my own already, and it's just.
What class are you playing?
I'm playing as the what is it, Vanguard? Yeah,
right.
It's what everybody does, I guess. Kind of a popular.
And how do you like the controls?
I have an infiltrator.
I like the controls fine, except on the what is the Mako? What's the name of that little dune buggy?
So the Mako is like the ship, the drop ship that you drop into planets with, has like 6-wheel kind of thing.
Come on, like did nobody ever drive a Warthog ever in Halo? Like the thing feels like it was filled with helium and is being driven by a retard.
Just the physics are weird.
So look, if we're going to bring up the faults, let's be honest. First of all, there are numerous places where the frame rate drops noticeably. And that could be distracting to people. The game looks gorgeous. I mean, the game really does look fantastic.
Really stunning.
Incredible,
and what I thought was really cool was having read, and geek admission, I read the book. Getting to the Citadel was amazing, but not being stuck in a pre-rendered background, I can only go through this part of the Citadel thing, but actually being able to wander around the Citadel was like...
Well, just the art direction and the alien design. Something I'm so enjoying is like, here is a game, and a lot of people are drawing parallels to Star Wars, because it does have them, but the feel of the universe, the alien design, the character design, the armor design, everything, it's not Aliens or Star Wars or Star Trek really derivative, probably closer to Star Trek than anything else, but like that feeling of being in a new universe is unbelievable. Like just talking to the alien races and being like, oh, what the hell is that thing?
That's what shows throughout this thing is how much depth there is in the background documentation of how much of this world is real and created and thought through. Every little piece, every organization, every governmental every part of the bureaucracy you can imagine, every part of the economy you can imagine, every part of the social structure. The entire thing has been imagined in its entirety, so when you come and interact with anything, it's all there naturally.
Right. I love the score.
Yeah, and the score is amazing.
I mean, it's got this real Vangelis sort of feel to it. I mean, from the very beginning when you get through the little sort of intro part where they're talking about your character, and then then it goes to black, and then you get the title crawl.
Yeah.
And then you get the music sort of swells up and you get the title Mass Effect. I had just seen the director's cut of Blade Runner a few weeks ago, and it had a very similar feel to it.
Did you get to watch it in the theater?
I did get to watch it in theater,
Very nice.
Which is awesome. I mean, Blade Runner is one of my favorite movies, and it just reminded me why I loved it. But this has it's weird. I mean, they draw from a bunch of places. I mean, that opening, that thing like where you're trying to enter your data, because you're this covert operative, and then it says it's corrupted, so you have to re-enter it. So that's how they say like why you have to tell it who you are.
Yeah.
That sort of has a very Star Trek-ish kind of look to it. There are aspects of the art direction, I would say, that are sort of very 2001 inspired.
Yeah.
There's a little bit, I think the creature design is somewhat reminiscent of Star Wars. And like I said, overall, I would say the dominant aesthetic is very late 70s, early 80s in terms of the overall vibe. And it's distinctive. I mean, one of the things that I've often complained about on games, maybe even on here before, is just what you were saying, that games draw so much from the same handful of sources, whether it's Aliens, Lord of the Rings,
exactly,
Black Hawk Down, Saving Private Ryan, and to see something this richly imagined and detailed that doesn't draw on that stuff was, stunning.
And you're right about the score. It's almost like Philip Glass or something. It's just like very ethereal and just
it's really cool.
Wow.
It's really
it lends
cool,
everything, this just otherworldly, like unique. I am playing, you just kind of like forget you're holding the controller. You just give yourself up to this, this like universe. And you're right about the frame rate. It annoys me that it especially comes up in combat.
And I brought that up because I know a lot of people are concerned about it.
Right. But you know what? I thought, because I'm a frame rate whore, like a self-confessed frame rate whore, it hasn't really bothered me. It hasn't bothered me. I'm having conversations. I'm running around doing nothing but having conversations for like 2 hours.
Right.
If you would tell me that I was doing that in a game, I would be like, fuck you. I'm not playing that game.
Okay. The exploration part is awesome. The exploration part is really good. Yes, Shane.
I'm curious because talking to people who reviewed it and people who are here at the office, some people are saying they had massive problems with like pathfinding AI issues with their teammates. Other people are like, no, they had none of those problems. I'm wondering, does it just vary depending on your strategy or like?
I guess it must.
Well, one of the weird things is I'm so early in the game, there hasn't actually been that much combat. But what I hear is if you kind of treat it like a shooter, then you're going to be disappointed. If you just kind of, if you kind of lean back and you're just like it's an RPG and you play it as this really simplified combat system, then you're not going to like see as many of the problems.
Here's the telling part to me is that as an infiltrator, one of my two key weapons is the sniper rifle. And I was initially I was dismayed because every time I went to use the sniper rifle and zoomed in, I couldn't steady the aim.
Oh, but here's automatic, right? I hear the sniping is kind of automatic. That you don't have to aim.
Okay, so here's where you need to shift your head to think about the way the combat works. The combat looks like a shooter, but it's doing role-playing game calculations in the background. So once you have your target inside the sights, it doesn't matter that it's swerving around some. When you pull the trigger, it's saying, okay, at this distance, with your sniper skill of this and this sniper rifle and these mods on that sniper rifle, what's your chance to hit? And then it says, okay, with that chance to hit, it makes the roll. Oh, you hit. Oh, you didn't hit.
Which I find really disconcerting, and I feel like we're seeing that in the other game that sort of exactly what you said.
Fallout 3 has that, but no.
Is that when there's a disjunct between what you're seeing visually and what it actually does?
There's a total cognitive disconnect there. I agree.
Absolutely. So the other game I was going to bring up was why am I spacing? The shooter from EA, Army of Two. Army of Two.
Okay.
So Army of Two looks like Gears of War, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the guys are big and bulky and that kind of thing, but they don't run as fast as the guys in Gears of War. They look like linebackers, and you're sort of like, why are they creeping around all stealthy like? Mm-hmm. And then when you go to cover, they don't take cover the way they do it. It's more just sort of like standard before Gears cover. And I'm sort of like, well, this game looks like Gears. Why isn't it behaving like Gears? It throws me off. And it's the same thing with Mass Effect. So I started wondering at a certain point, because I am playing the Vanguard, and I am trying to do these shootery type things. I was like, why didn't these guys call on Pandemic for some expertise on that kind of thing? Why didn't they make it more like the Tom Clancy games?
I mean, do you think it's
like GRAW and whatever?
Do you think they made a mistake by trying to make it look like a shooter? They should have just been an RPG and been happy with being an RPG.
Well, I'm going to answer it the other way and say what I think they should have done is, were they going to have the visual approach of a shooter, of a squad-based shooter, they should have supported it far more fully than they are now, because I'm finding it completely throwing off. It looks like a shooter, it seems like it behaved like a shooter, but it doesn't actually, and that's confusing me.
I'm going to answer the question for them, and maybe the doctors will hit me and tell me I'm wrong or something, but I'm going to tell you that it was because it gives them the opportunity to give you this game world to play in that you recognize and understand and feel comfortable in, but sticks to the idea of role-playing game conventions mattering, like leveling up your character and deciding what kind of character you want to have and improving in skills and mastering those skills.
I love how you level up your character, by the way. That's brilliantly done.
And bringing all those things into it. And if you go to a more pull the trigger down the iron sight sort of game mechanic in your shooting, you start to lose those things. It's the same balance that a Deus Ex and BioShock and all those guys have tried to balance. BioShock probably carries so you like BioShock.
I love it.
And you like that sort of approach to it. And I think that if they had gone that route here, then they would have made a different game that didn't emphasize the character building elements the way they wanted to here. That would be that's the way I see it.
And I think it's a fair thing. I think clearly, as we see more genre mashup and crossover going on, we're going to start to see more of that confusion, because I completely understand. Look, their heritage is RPGs. They make RPGs.
Well,
but once it starts to look like something else, someone like me, I'm not an RPG guy.
Right.
But I'm playing it because it looks awesome and it's BioWare.
So in that case, in that case, it's worked because you're not an RPG guy, and it's drawn you in.
If they're trying to expand to people who don't normally play RPGs, it's a smart way to do it.
Absolutely.
All right, so Mass Effect, we seem to totally be in agreement. They love it, and there you go.
I'm definitely going to play more of it. Absolutely.
What else? Let's get you your tapas, because we've had a couple of big entrees. How about some little plates?
All right. Well, let's see. What do I have? So on me, sort of at the moment, my PSP currently.
Yeah, what'd you play on the flight over?
On the flight over.
This is even better.
That's actually the most interesting thing. So I flew Virgin America because everyone's all the cool people.
All I hear about is Virgin America, the iPhone of the skies.
No, I've heard they don't quite have their shit together.
They're still working some. We're still working some kinks out, but all the cool people, including my sister, love you in LA, who's a screenwriter. And
is she striking?
She is on strike, absolutely.
Shit.
So power to the people. Get that money from Sumner Redstone,
which helps us out a little bit because it means she has time to listen.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But so she and her girlfriend flew out on Virgin America. They're like, you have to fly it, you have to fly it, you have to fly it. So I did. I was exhausted blogging, getting stuff done to get on the plane to come out here. And so I slept for most of the flight. But when I got up, they have their equivalent of the JetBlue DirecTV in the back of the seats, but they have a lot more options.
But I heard it costs like $4 for a TV show or some bullshit.
Yes, and I wasn't going to spend any money on that. So they've got music videos, they've got music, you can generate your own playlist. They also have games.
Oh, nice.
So I decided to see, well, what games do they have?
Super Mahjong, Super Nintendo, like JAL.
I skipped over all that stuff and went to Doom.
Really?
Wow.
I played Doom.
Wait, it's not networked with other people on the plane, is it?
That would be awesome.
Oh my
shit.
god, that would be incredible.
I know. Come on.
Well, you guys,
especially if like the pilot and co-pilot could play while you're like.
So Doom 1?
Doom 1, exactly. The original Doom is playable on the thing.
What are you playing it with?
So the you know, like how the volume controls on a typical plane, they're built into the armrest.
Wait, that's not like you're not using that shit.
You're not, well,
it's like your D-pad, like volume up and the channel changing buttons. That's what you're using.
You know that button that reclines the seat? That's your fire. You're like, oh shit, I'm firing.
Does it have like a little controller that comes out?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it sort of pops out like more like those backseat phones.
Is it like a Super Nintendo
yeah.
controller?
So it comes out and you flip it. On the front is the controls for the media. On the back is a little keyboard. And the reason there's a little keyboard is because they don't have the email and internet working, but you will be able to do that in the future. But you can text people in other seats. If you want.
Yeah.
And then there are some rudimentary controls. There's like a D-pad, some X, Y, A, B buttons, and then 2 shoulder buttons.
So what control? It felt mostly like what? Like a bad Super Nintendo controller?
Yeah.
The bad third-party Super Nintendo?
It didn't feel that good because forward and back were on the D-pad, but turning was on the D-pad as well, where I would have rather had strafe, I think.
Yeah.
And then the shoulder buttons were strafing. So I just kind of kludged my way through about the first 3 levels, but it was weird. Like, it took me back to like 93, 94. I felt like, and what was also weird is how a game that back then people would have said was way too violent to be able to play in public or whatever. I mean, anyone could watch me shoot demons.
Yeah, it's like a cartoon now, basically.
Yeah. So that is the most recent game I played. I played Doom on the back of a chair on Virgin America flying to San Francisco.
And there you have it. That's 2007 for you folks.
There it is. That's what That's what mainstream journalists like myself working for Newsweek play. Bonafides ejected, gone. So I have Manhunt 2 on my PSP.
Did you download the adults only patch?
I did not download the AO patch. So that's on my PSP, and I'm on the last mission. That's
Whoa, hold on.
Last mission.
Why?
N-Guy travels a lot.
I don't actually have a good explanation for it, especially given that the controls aren't that good relative to some of the changes or some of the evolutions in gameplay they made.
Okay.
But I will say that there's something about Rockstar, even when they're not on, there's something about the banality of those environments. There's a level that's set in a storage facility. Like, you know, like one of those places where you just store stuff.
Crates abound.
And no, it's not crates. It's like
you store it. It's like at the you store it.
It's like those, you know, those
like public storage.
Public storage, like those grates. You know what I'm saying? That you have to like, you know, you have to knock open with a crowbar and then it slides up and all that stuff. And it's just there's stuff they do in their games you don't see. There's like a level that takes place in like this twisted, abandoned TV station that's used to beam propaganda to people and stuff like that. And it's like there's so many reasons why I shouldn't be playing the game, but it's just the right kind of disreputable and the right kind of stuff. I mean, if part of the reason we play games is to experience things we don't experience in real life and see things we don't see, or see things we don't see in games, like it pulled me in, even though there's a lot of things I don't like about it. So
I'm impressed,
but I'm struggling with the end of it.
Because I picked it up, like, I have a PS2 that can play discs on it, and so we have the the European version of it, and I've tried to pick it up twice, and I can't. I guess there's 2 things for me. First of all, it's clunky. It feels really clunky to me, and you're right. It doesn't feel like Rockstar on their game. And the second part is, and maybe this is, and I know there are not many people who experience this, but one of the parts for me of Manhunt that was the most amazing was wearing the headset and having the director talking in your ear, fucking telling you what to do in this film. That was just. That was the crazy, and then or trying to hide and have something really whack happen. And you go, and then they hear you because you have your mic on. Yeah,
maybe Portal should have used a headset as well.
I would say that the original Manhunt had one of the most innovative uses of the headset interaction of any game I've ever played.
Did you play? Were you a fan of the original?
Love the original Manhunt, and this is not close.
Well, it's not. That's why I was asking you.
Yeah, the people that I hear complaining about Manhunt 2 talking the same way, guy, that you talk about Manhunt 2 about the original, like how it's clunky, the aiming is screwed up, this and that, but man, it's like you feel completely involved, you're creeped out, you're freaked out. It's just you're in this fucked up world.
A big problem is the narrative this time just isn't that interesting compared to the first game.
Right.
Definitely there.
But what's interesting, and Stephen Totillo and I are going back and forth on sort of story and narrative and the difference between the two, and when we're talking about Portal, and so I would say, there isn't really a story in the first one. It's a premise.
Right.
But it's a great premise, and it's really well executed. In this one, they try to bring in a story, and it's not that interesting.
It reminded me of The Suffering 2.
Yeah.
Which
could they not
something interesting? Yeah.
But here's the other thing.
Could they have not done like Hostel and just had another snuff film? It's just another snuff film, and here you go.
I respect the fact that they try to do something with it. They could have done some more interesting things with this. I mean, for instance, and this is going to be a spoiler, so spoiler warning.
Yeah.
The idea is that you're playing this character, Danny, who was a scientist and is part of this experiment into implanting alternate personalities into people that could be brought out at any time. So it's like a soldier program. It's like, I guess
Jacob's Ladder.
The twisted version of Jacob's Ladder meets Captain America, right?
Okay.
And then you need money and whatever, and so you've decided to have it done on you. And so Danny is your, or Leo is your alternate personality. Did you guys see Primal Fear with Leonardo DiCaprio? Leonardo DiCaprio, or even so in that movie, at the risk of spoiling that for you,
just spoil away.
I'm spoiling away. Is the evil personality is the one that turns out to be real, not the nice guy, the one you've assumed is the real one. That would have made this a better game, but it would have been a better story than the one they told. It's just not that compelling. It's not that. But the world, like being in these places, confronting these twisted characters, I still find that compelling. But so many problems with the controls. And so to broaden this out, because I know there are a lot of people, a lot of listeners who sort of dismiss Manhunt and whatever, what it made me realize or sort of think about more than I had in the past is how slow Rockstar is to iterate on their controls and improve them.
Right.
And that's the one thing about this, and Manhunt is sort of very much an adjunct of what they're doing on their main thing, which is Grand Theft Auto. But I will say that it made me very, very concerned for Grand Theft Auto 4 that if they don't significantly improve those controls, if they don't get modern
you don't think
with their controls.
I mean, they've announced that they hope to, and what we've seen.
But even look at what happened from GTA 3 to Vice City to San Andreas. I mean, for me personally, GTA 3 and Vice City are effectively unplayable. Like those controls, like you have to fight them so much of the time.
It's surprising how
each time it was a little bit better, and people who were huge GTA fans were like, "Oh yeah, the aiming is better." And to anyone else, you pick it up and you're like, "What? Really? This is like Siphon Filter 1."
The real problem with those games is they're driving games. They are, and then
to a large degree,
right? And then the on-foot controls are.
It's funny. It's funny you mention that because I wanted to bring up something during Assassin's Creed, which I actually thought running around the city, like, oh man, like this GTA 4 just got a little harder, like because I'm running around this huge, complicated city, everything's unique, and nothing feels like it's cookie cutter or different, and it's huge.
Call me myopic. I don't think GTA 4 has anything to worry about. I don't think GTA 4 has anything to worry about.
I don't think they have anything to worry about from audiences, but here's one thing. I mean, it can happen all of a sudden, like where a game comes out and establishes itself strongly, and other games have to respond to it in some way. So, for instance, before man, I'm losing it today. Before Gears of War, I don't think a lot of people had to be concerned about how they handled cover, how they didn't.
Right.
Now,
kill switch obviously notwithstanding.
Exactly. Now you do. You know what I'm saying? Now you do. And that's what I'm saying is that Assassin's Creed probably won't make the kind of noise necessary for Rockstar to be concerned about that. They'll sell crazy, ridiculous amounts no matter what. And the fact of the matter is, the fact that they sold as many as they did, given the controls being as kind of bad as they were, is a testament to how amazing the world.
Did you play the
and
Warriors?
The missions they did?
Right.
I did play the Warriors.
And so, to me, Manhunt 2 feels like an extension of what they were doing, like with Warriors, keeping some interim products in the pipeline. I think, and I agree with you that they've been slow to change their control schemes. But if you look at like the Grand Theft Auto 3, the spectrum of what they did there, that was 3 games, all basically on the same sort of approach, same sort of game engine, same sort of deal. Grand Theft Auto 4 is a wipe the slate clean sort of project, and they're not going to come back with just the same.
Well, one thing I respect about them is that there is sort of a shared design philosophy across all their games. Okay. And so, for instance, the stealth assassination stuff that they did in Manhunt, they brought over into San Andreas appropriate and things like that. So cool. Bully, all those things, even Midnight Club with the way the map works and all, they share those things. So they've built up a common language, and that's great. But I really do think at this point, when you have some compelling developers that are making some great strides forwards in controls, Rockstar really has to step things up. Like if they are as turtle slow as they were in the last generation to improve their games controls, I'm going to have a problem with that.
And you know what? It would be a damn shame if that was the sort of thing that hurt a game that has so much potential.
Absolutely.
Because I agree with you. I do agree with you. I'm on the optimistic side that they'll get it right. That they'll treat this as a wipe the slate clean event and do the control system from the ground up the way it should be in GTA 4.
I hope so.
Anyway, some more small plates or anything else you want to share that you've been...
Still wrapping, still playing a little, inching my way through Phantom Hourglass, and then just starting on a lot of the stuff that came through. I played a little bit of Call of Duty 4, a little bit of Mass Effect. It's just, that's why I call it tapas. It's just like nibbling at little bits and pieces of these games.
Call of Duty, I played a little bit of that as well. What do you think?
Love it so far. The context, the way they do things, but... And again, and you guys are much more expert veterans playing games longer than me.
Oh, whatever.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys hinted, I think, in last week's or maybe the show before about, another spoiler, guys, about a cutscene and the way the cutscene was handled that was really amazing.
It's very early on, actually.
Can we talk about it now?
We already did. It's when you're the president.
When you're the president and you're seeing a coup.
It's like,
oh no, I'm kidding.
Yeah, man, dude, you sold that. You totally sold that shit.
Oh my god, how's Bioware? Is that going well for you? No, so that you're taken prisoner, and there's a coup that's happened. You've been deposed, and you're being driven through, and you're seeing all this stuff happening around you and whatnot. And all of a sudden, I don't know if you guys read, there was this op-ed in the New York Times by this guy, writer named Ronald Radosh, that came out shortly after Halo 3, and he was saying, played it, loved it, amazing, but it's not art.
Yeah.
And here's why, and like all these things.
I
And
did read that, yeah.
I wrote a column in Edge actually defending Halo, and because he was sort of saying that video games haven't really developed a storytelling language that's distinct from, say, film. They borrow too much from it, and they need to develop their own. And I was sort of listing out why I didn't think that was true. So that's going to be in an upcoming issue of Edge. But
by the way, my jealousy of N-Guy just jumped a whole nother.
He does a column for Edge?
Yeah, I mean, like,
I did see that.
It went from here to somewhere on top of the building.
Well, Garnet, I would do a column for EGM. You guys never asked me.
Oh,
Edge asked me.
We can't afford you.
That's what it comes down to, really.
If you only knew what Edge was paying me.
The pound's pretty strong these days, dude.
By the way, if Edge is remotely
Mercury.
interested, I'd be glad to do that column for half that.
So, looking at this, the way this cutscene is done, that basically it's one of those Half-Life style interactive cutscenes where all you can do is look around,
right.
And it makes sense because you're being held prisoner, and you go all the way through the city as you're being driven through it, seeing the chaos happening, people being executed, rebels, shooting their guns in celebration, and then you're delivered to this courtyard where ultimately you are executed. And
first person looking down the barrel of a 45.
First person looking out, and literally and figuratively, I was blown away.
Yeah.
And it made me wonder, has there been another game that's used the first person view to put you in the role of someone who is a bit player or a supporting character, as opposed to it just being you,
right.
The way it is in like the Half-Life games and Portal? It just made me think, like, wow, like that's really untapped potential. I don't know, and I don't exactly want to spoil, but can anyone who's played more sort of say, like, do they do that more in the game, or is that just kind of a one-off?
I hear there's. I mean, I haven't played it, but someone else. I told that same story to someone. They're like, "Oh, wait till you see this later on." And they kind of told me about something later on. That's
you don't have to spoil anything later on, do you?
No, I actually, I would say that we will not ever on this podcast spoil the later on one, because the one in the beginning is very early, but the one that's later on is pretty epic. It's not in the same sense of being a bit player. You're much more emotionally attached, and
it's your character.
There's like a whole bunch of stuff that happens, and it's amazing. And the game really, I mean, John and I talked about this last week, and actually someone was making fun of my circular way of describing when Call of Duty 4 works and when it doesn't, and I don't know how to explain to them any further the idea of the cinematic shooter, which is that it sets up these controlled situations that you come into, and they're dynamic. I mean, one of the things I think Call of Duty 4 does better than other staged shooters is that it gives start points for events to happen, but it doesn't dictate everything after that. It allows the scene, so to speak, like the movie scene, to unfold dynamically, whereas other scripted shooters are very much stuck to everything following the director's cast. And I think that's where they fall into their trouble, is that when it's turned loose dynamically and things fall apart after that, it breaks really badly because no one has control over it. You don't really feel like you have control over what's going on, and the director who wrote the game doesn't have control over what's going on, and it becomes kind of a clusterfuck. But the rest of the time, it's
when it's on, it's on. When it's off, it's off. No,
and it's on 99% of the time.
Because I was sort of explaining a situation I got, because I haven't gotten very far. I'd gotten up to the TV station in the first American mission.
I'm just past that, yeah.
And what was explained to me is the way that they've done it is, it's kind of a bit of a monster closet situation.
Yes.
It is
right?
a bit,
and that you have to push your way to a certain point. Like, that's how they create that sense of intensity. But the way I play shooters is I tend to be much more of a hang back, snipe, clear, move into situation. I don't do so well close range.
Right.
Even though, ironically, in multiplayer shooters, I tend to, like in the Call of Duty 4 beta, I was about the shotgun and leveling up my shotgun skills and trying to get close.
You can hold back and clear in Call of Duty 4.
Yeah, but you can't. Like, it's clowns in a clown car, I think, certain points, right? They just keep coming.
I actually had the ability in places where I thought were like that to hold out long enough that I could actually advance once I cleared it out.
See, this is actually, like, you talk about being dynamic, and it's actually one of the things that I lost patience with Call of Duty after playing Halo. One of the things I lost patience with Call of Duty with is that I felt like, I would die and then I would try a thing again, and it's like, all right, two guys are going to come through the door, and this is going to happen over here, and that's going to happen next, and that sort of thing, and this time I'm going to be more ready for it. And it's like, you know what? Like, that was cool in Call of Duty 2 just because of the storytelling and everything else is done so well. I totally love the cutscene that we talked about before. It's like that was really pushing things forward. But I just felt like I still kind of felt like I was in World War II because I associate that style of gameplay with World War II games.
Yeah, it does it absolutely makes heavy use of trigger points, heavy use of spawn points, heavy use of scripting out, here's what's going to happen in this environment, and you do definitely, in places where you die, you learn that you know what, there's going to be a guy here, and I know he's going to be there because that's where his start spot is.
Right. So, I was a little disappointed that, especially, now, and it is a thing like we were talking about, we touched on a little earlier, but, like, the bar is raised immediately. Like, the audience, a lot of times, like, Halo 2 comes out, people don't think, oh, this first-person shooter was in the works for 2 years before Halo 2. They didn't know that they were doing this party system. You're just like, where's the party system? That shit happens immediately, and it's there's no mercy at all. And so, like, that kind of thing, when it happens, I don't know, it totally happens. And I realize now that's kind of happened to me with first-person shooters.
After Halo 3?
Well,
the way they do the sandbox combat.
Yeah, I think Halo 3 kind of solidified it, but like a lot of things had been, toying with it before that, and Left 4 Dead, like one of the things that I'm really excited about that game from Valve is that the spawns, quote unquote spawn points in that game move around differently. Like, you never know playing through, and it's made to be played through a lot of times. You don't know. One time you'll have no enemies at all. Another time you'll have 100 zombies just flying at you.
Well, and don't even get started about games like The Crossing, but that's like next generation stuff. I think that
we're in next generation, aren't it?
It's a testament to Infinity Ward. I mean, the work that they've done, that I don't think, because I sensed what you're talking about exactly. Like, I mean, with Halo 3, Bungie established themselves as king of the hill for sandbox shooters.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, they probably were there anyway, but it's just really reinforced it. Especially when, and I don't know how much you guys have messed around with the save films.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things I love to do with that, actually, is save films in single-player mode or in campaign mode, drop behind and move the camera behind enemy lines and just sort of listen.
Watch what they do.
And listen to what they say. Because you can start to see their tactics, see how they do what they do, but then also I feel like I'm seeing the world through their eyes. So you know how they call the Arbiter the heretic and Master Chief the demon? And so when you sort of see these guys sort of like manning their posts and then all of a sudden they're getting sniped out of nowhere, shot out of nowhere, you're kind of like, damn, he is the demon.
Yeah.
You know?
Demon.
Exactly. But to me, it's a testament to Infinity Ward that, I mean, they're clearly, from what you're saying, and I think we're all agreeing, is they're the masters now of scripted first-person shooters.
Right.
And they've done it so atmospherically that I don't think it's going to be a drawback.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see how they evolve what they do. Like, I mean, do they stick with that? Is that what defines them? Or do they start to say, we can evolve into this other area?
Yeah.
Friends list check. My friends list over the past week has been dominated by people playing Call of Duty 4 online.
I have about half Call of Duty, a few Orange Box people still.
Not to the extent that Halo 3 just took over everybody, but dominated.
Oh, lots of Call of Duty 4 for
lots
sure.
Of Call of Duty 4.
To the point I was like, okay, I have to fucking go out and get this today, not tomorrow, because all of my friends are fucking playing.
I think the ball is very much in Infinity Ward's court, because one of the aces in the hole that Halo 3 and Bungie has is Forge, and Forge affords a great deal of community interaction and long-term development of multiplayer and what goes on in multiplayer. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I thought was really cool about what Infinity Ward did with Call of Duty 4 is that they don't require a title update in order to change the playlists and play types that are on.
According to Dan Shu, Halo is the same way.
Okay, that's cool. I'm glad they're that way. But
he had an issue with you when you brought that up on the podcast.
Okay, I mean,
yeah, they did a Halloween playlist. Sure is.
Okay,
nothing.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
So I think the weight is sort of off Bungie's shoulders because they have Forge, where if I can sit down and make a really cool play map. Mark, you're a Halo expert. You could come up with some really cool play modes and put that together. Mm-hmm. Because Call of Duty 4 doesn't have that. All the other stuff it has is great, but it's really relying on the Infinity Ward team backing that up and keeping it fresh and playable and fun in the coming months.
And you know who has to worry about what? And so just like we're saying that Infinity Ward may have to worry a little bit about what Halo did, who has to worry about what Infinity Ward did, I think,
SOCOM?
SOCOM, comparisons are out there, definitely.
That's actually a good one. Probably the most. But is actually DICE and Battlefield Bad Company.
Yeah.
I was at an event. I saw a demo, and it's not looking as good visually, but it's looking solid. Love the destructible environments. It's basically destructible exteriors, like walls and stuff like that. Not the interior walls. You can't completely knock down a building unless
Red Faction says hi.
Exactly. And the way that's playing out has a sandboxy feel to it, but I just can't tell how far they're going to go with it, and I'm sort of wondering. Because this is the full first Battlefield that's really, really, really designed for console, is it going to be a situation where they're able to stake out their own place and be dominant? Or are people going to feel like it's not enough Halo 3 to be Halo 3, and it's not enough Call of Duty 4 to be Call of Duty 4?
Yeah.
I can't tell at this point. I saw some promising things, but when I sort of think about how the reviews and how strongly Call of Duty 4 is establishing itself, how strongly Halo 3 has obviously established itself, I think EA and DICE have to be concerned in the middle. And when you think about it, especially the fact that EA they were like this close to having Infinity Ward locked up and making Medal of Honor games, and now EA's biggest rival, as we'll see when we get to NPDs, Activision, is just printing money.
Throwing it down. They are throwing it down. Shane, bring it home for us, man. You're the anchor man on what you've been playing.
Well, I'm afraid I haven't been playing any first-person shooters, so you might not be interested. But
I'm interested, dude. Come on.
PC game, Shane?
Yeah. By the way, what did I have to argue with you about? Ratchet & Clank, not a first-person shooter.
Yeah, kind of. You can play it in first person. I haven't really been playing that much.
You play over the shoulder, right? Can you play in first person?
You can't. I haven't seen. Is there first person? It's over the shoulder.
What do you click in one of the R buttons?
Lock mode is over the shoulder.
Yeah.
Sony hooked Shane up with a special mode.
Of course.
Bednausen mode.
Well, I haven't been playing that much. I played a bunch of shitty games for Broken Pixels that'll air in a week. In addition to that, I've been What?
Bring your mic in closer so we can hear you.
It hurts my head.
It doesn't matter.
That crazy hat.
That hat is
wearing.
awesome. No, leave the hat on.
All right, leave the hat on.
Do whatever needs to be done.
Anyway.
Party hats and anyway, if you know the website, you know.
Continue. Moving right along.
So I've been playing my all Wii all the time because I'm reviewing only Wii games this month.
What the
Good.
hell are you playing?
You like the Wii?
Well,
God have mercy on your soul.
Last week I had just gotten into Soul Calibur Legends, and early this week I finished that one, and
You finished it.
well, I finished what I'm going to play of it.
Okay. It's a relative term.
I played a lot of it, mind
So
you.
when I first saw it, I thought it was one of the best-looking games for the Wii.
You're mistaken.
Mainstream journalists smacked down.
Yeah.
You're a
My opinion hasn't really changed since what I said last week. So moving right along.
Check back in the archives if you need a refresher.
The other one that I've been kind of down on until I got my hands on the final copy is Knight's Journey of Dreams for the Wii.
Oh yeah, I hear you love
Reversal?
it now.
What'd you hear?
I heard you love it.
Well,
Hold on, did we hold left button and hit square? Reversal?
Yes. Well, part of the problem was that
You missed. You can't hear the 3 blank stares that were just.
Obviously
that
never
was a
played.
Dead or Alive reference.
Played no WWE SmackDown games.
All right.
Yeah.
No, I have.
Back
I
to Knights.
I have reviewed SmackDown games, but no, on Knights at TGS I really didn't like it. But I realized a huge part of that was that I was playing it with a Wiimote. The game is more or less unplayable with a Wiimote.
Oh,
that's seriously unplayable. Terrible.
You can't adjust
Awful.
the control scheme that it doesn't really matter one way or the other.
Throw the Wiimote out. Just throw it away.
Hook up the classic controller or the GameCube?
Hook up a classic controller, or I suggest a GameCube controller because it has Rumble. It's better than the classic controller. Put a GameCube controller in.
Really?
Yes. And if you were a fan of Knights Into Dreams for Sega Saturn, as I was,
and many people are,
this is Knights 2 completely. It's as if this game came out, 2 years after Knights. Not graphically, because the graphics are actually among the best I've seen.
Graphics are like 3 years maybe after Knights.
In fact, I would say the graphics. The
3.5.
The graphics look better than they did at TGS, and overall, levels of this game are the best graphics I've seen on Wii. All right,
really.
Oh, better than Mario, better than big part of Zelda, better than.
Yeah, previous to this, would you agree? What Mario?
Metroid. I'd say Metroid had the best graphics.
Yeah. Better than Nitro Bike.
Yes, and a big part of it is aesthetics, and the aesthetics are beautiful in some of the levels, and the graphics look good. There is some slowdown, but all in all, it looks good.
The slowdown just lets you appreciate the beautiful graphics.
There's not a lot of slowdown.
Yeah,
but the music's fantastic.
Aren't you just fucking flying through loops and fucking rescuing children's in their dreams and?
Well, the story.
Mark, what do you have against the children?
I mean, fanciful shit.
The problem is you almost have to be either a Knights fan or a small child, or else you really won't understand this game. And my fear is that small children won't understand it at all.
Yeah. So tell us about what the two stories are, because you were telling me about this before, and I'm just like, really?
Well,
this is what the story is.
Much like Knights Into Dreams,
Mr. Shane, could you explain the two stories for me, please?
It has a parallel narrative with two tykes. One named Will. He's an 8-year-old soccer player.
I could be Will.
And one named Helen. She's a violin, savant. She's also like 8 years old.
Yep.
And, Will, he has to understand that when his dad goes away on business, that doesn't mean he's not going away forever.
Daddy, come back!
And Helen, she needs to learn that even though her mother pushes her very hard to play the violin, her mother has her best interest in heart.
This is it sounds like this game would be perfect for parents who, if you are a business traveler, give this to your kid. Listen, kid,
it's basically,
understand, this is what daddy...
It's basically a game for Japanese children whose parents don't love them. Really. I'm not kidding.
That was actually the original subtitle. It was Knight's Journey into Dreams. Japanese parents who don't love you.
No, but if you like Knights, the core Knights gameplay here in the levels, it is as good as it ever was. It's fun, it's addictive, it's finesse, there's tons of depth to it.
Okay.
It's kind of high level play is hard and challenging.
Really?
Oh yeah, if you got into Knights, this has everything Knights had.
Are you coming back, Daddy?
Maybe. But they throw in some new kinds of levels, like platforming levels as the kids and not so successful.
Right.
When it tries to do things besides just Knights.
Wait, so you play also as Will and as Helen?
In Knights, in the original Knights that happened as well, but you would always become Knights, and sometimes in the levels here you never become Knights.
Right, so I'm saying you play them and you never.
Right, and there's also different kinds
that's
of.
Odd.
There's different kinds of levels for Knights as well. There's more variety, but compared to something like Mario Galaxy, it's nothing near that kind of variety.
Okay, so I'm not a Knights fan. Maybe I've never heard of Knights. What about me? I own a Wii. I like Zelda and Mario.
The learning curve is steep. It's a difficult game to explain to people because it's score based, it's time based. You'll run out of time all the time. You'll run out of time on bosses because like the bosses, it's more of a thing of what's the trick to beating this boss? And it's a problem solving.
So is it just Knights fan service, or is it?
Well, I mean, it is
that?
the sequel to Knights, and it does expand on Knights and add some new gameplay things, and it is a 100% the sequel to Knights.
So bottom line is the Wii Play, Wii Sports, Mario Party, Carnival Games crowd going to get this one?
And I think that's kind of the problem because it is an awesome game for kids. And like if you had kids there and would teach them how to play Knights, I think they would get a lot out of it, and like the story would actually connect with them, and they'd like the graphics, they'd like the music. But it's kind of a hard sell just because it is like weird and deep.
All right, so if you're up for the game, Milky just did this long cover story.
Yeah, there's a lot of Knights coverage on OneUp.
If you want to go check it out, you can check it out. We got sights and sounds.
I think the good news is
previews,
if you are a Knights fan.
Have you done the A-Life thing?
A-Life's kind of a bust.
Really?
Yeah, a little bit. But
really?
A little bit. I mean, it always kind of was. In Knights 1, it was kind of a bust.
Milk's pretty high on the A-Life thing, but I mean, that's different strokes for different folks.
Milk likes all sorts of things.
All right, what else have you been playing?
That's about it, really.
That's it. All right.
But I finally got my copy of Uncharted today, and I got my copy of...
You did?
Yeah, and I also...
God damn it.
I also got...
Attention, Sheila, please send me a copy of Uncharted now.
So this weekend, if I'm done with all my review games, Uncharted and BioShock.
All right. Now we know what you're doing over the weekend.
Really?
I have my game of the...
Really?
Wait, what did he say, BioShock?
You're not waiting for the PS3 version that EGM says is coming along?
I have my game of...
Oh!
Well, no, I have a Game of the Year candidate stack to play through.
I see.
By the way, did you see David Ellis's $100 PS3 shock controller?
Yes, I played it with it today, actually.
I forgot. The name flew out of my head. What are they calling the damn thing?
DualShock 3.
DualShock 3? Yeah.
Well, it doesn't cost $100 unless you're an idiot.
Well, right. He imported it.
Yeah,
that's what it costs. I mean, it costs $100 import from PlayAsia or whatever.
It's like $70 plus the shipping.
Yeah. Well, Stephen Totillo, who I'm sure is listening to this podcast now, will be very glad to hear that you're playing BioShock because he listened to the podcast of last week or the week before and was very disappointed
that nobody here had played it.
Well, not played it, but Stephen's a completist. And there were a number of you who had not completed the game. Stephen was disappointed.
He was okay that I loved it, right?
Mark, what do you have to say about BioShock?
Wait, so Stephen and I are okay on BioShock, but on Battalion Wars, we not so much.
Apparently, according to you, he's a bit confused about the quality of Battalion Wars.
Yeah,
too.
apparently not so much. All right, so we know what...
He's into it, you're not?
He's into it, I'm not, yeah.
Oh, well, Nintendo sent him a copy, so,
All right, so we know what Shane's going to be...
the Totillo.
We know what Shane's going to be playing over the weekend. If you stick around when we come right back, we're going to do it. What? 4-minute warning.
You're not playing anything?
Man, we've been doing this for a while. Plus, we've already covered Ratchet & Clank. We've covered Mass Effect.
We need to move on.
Garnet did chime in.
Time to move on.
Fair enough.
I've been playing Episode 2, but I will chime back in next week with Episode 2. More on Episode 2. Let me just say real quick for the people who are mad at me for saying a little diss on it. The first environment that you play in Episode 2 is not as good as the rest of the Episode 2 environments. So we'll just leave it at that. Until next time. Stick around. We'll be right back. When we come back, we're going to do 4-minute warning. We've got all kinds of crazy stuff. Guy and I actually put the list together. Like, how would you say it? It was like a big. We were making a big
collab.
We were making gumbo, and it was like a pot of love that we were stirring for 3 or 4 hours.
You guys were playing jazz.
All I gotta say, kids, is if you knew how hard Garnet busts his ass every week for the show.
All right, there you go.
I was impressed.
We'll be back after this.
This OneUp podcast is brought to you by the Doritos Presents Unlock Xbox contest. 5 finalists remain. Now we need to pick the winner. Visit snackstrongproductions.com before November 18th to play their games and vote for your favorite.
All right, we're back, and everybody's excited. Mark loves doing 4-minute warning. It's only his second one. Guy, it's your first one. I got it right here. Upstairs was the...
I love it.
The most magical of all devices. So,
am I the only one that doesn't know what topics we're covering here?
I just went over them. They're very good.
They are really good. Like, I'm telling you, first of all, propers to the boards.oneup.com crowd, because this was probably the best group of questions to cull from that we've had before. And I spent the afternoon running through them. We had a good process of.
I'm going to be pissed if any of these are name them, most whatever game in your history. Something that I need to think about.
No, as a matter of fact, we ruled those out. We actually ruled those out intentionally because all these are open doors. So for those of you who haven't played the game before, we have a stopwatch right here, 4 minutes. When you hear the sound, that means that whoever's talking, they finish their point. We move on to the next one.
All right.
And
more or less.
Well,
depending on how
we're pretty strict.
Heated it
Sudden
is.
death.
We will try and be strict about it.
Yes.
However, on top of all of that, we have Ngai kicking it off with special guest question or topic provider Stephen Totillo from MTV's multiplayer blog, who you should also have on your bookmarks as well as Level Up.
You might not know it's Game Week this week on MTV.
Is it?
It is.
And by the way, Stephen also was very courteous and sent me a link on how to properly pronounce his last name, which I thought was really funny.
I always thought it was like Tostito or something.
Dude, that feature was great for a couple weeks. Ngai, I liked your entry, but I mean, come on, you can't force it.
Here's what's funny is he actually makes this point of showing that his dad, who's apparently in the fashion industry, puts 2 L's in his name, in his label, to make people pronounce it right. But that won't work right in the South because ILLO in the South is EO. So, and he wants it to be Totillo because he's telling me, it's Totillo. I'm like, wait a minute, why did you do it like that? Because if I see ILLO, it's EO. But anyway.
There
you go, Stephen. Stephen Totillo, first up on 4 Minute Warning.
Take it away.
All right, I'm going to do my best Steven impression. If people are going to keep making minigame collections, name a genre of minigames that you'd like someone to make because you'd play it.
Well, there's more.
Here's his examples.
So his examples were...
What? Everyone has a copy of this except for me. What's up? Oh, and here it is.
Everybody has a copy.
So the examples that he gives are Interrogations, the minigame collection, Car Mechanic, the minigame collection. He personally proposes, and I'm not sure I quite get it, Being Michael Jackson, the minigame collection.
Okay, I agree with him. I think that's a really good idea, and I would totally play it. But I have another one, and mine is Virtual Cracker Barrel. Because when you go to Cracker Barrel, there's all these awesome little games on your table. And Mark and I, we found one of these new minigames in Japan.
Yes.
It's awesome.
3D Connect 4.
Wait, there's a Cracker Barrel in Japan?
Yeah. No. Well, there should be. But no, it was a game. It was a game like you would see in Cracker Barrel where you're moving.
It was 3D Connect 4.
Basically, but in Cracker Barrel,
it was like fucking Star Trek.
You're moving pegs around a wooden square. You're playing games. People love that shit. It would be huge in the heartland.
Okay.
All right.
I think I've already established that virtual homeless killer is my minigame. My minigame of choice. No, but I think...
And you'll be able to sell downloadable city packs.
I think Nintendo is doing one of mine, which is Magic Tricks.
They are.
That's a fucking great thing. They're making use of the DS. I think that's a great minigame collection that is actually worthwhile.
I'd go with a sort of like a collection of hacking, breaching minigames. The idea would be that you're leading the female Jack Bauer through a variety of environments. And so the idea is in between, you see her doing these fancy killing, sneaking moves. But in between, there's doors, there's cars that need to be started, all of these things. And the minigames are basically you doing your hacker magic from your mother's basement to guide her, get her through to the places that she needs to go.
So why is she female? Is she hot?
I'm a guy.
What are we talking about?
I'm a guy. What can I say?
40
so wait,
Ds,
how is that a minigame? How is that a minigame collection?
And
you've actually described a game that's almost a complete game.
But it's a minigame because all of the hacking games would be minigames. You know what I'm saying? So it'd be remote hacking the minigame.
Yep.
You're doing all these things to guide her through. And even better, I've got the perfect sort of mashup. It's Microsoft doing it via Rare for the Wii.
Wow,
that's
going to take some time to process. Shane, though, I need your help. What is a game that Sony showed at a E3 conference? I believe you
Identify.
Identify.
That is that game.
It kind of is that game, I guess.
I think it's canceled, though.
Really?
Maybe.
Too bad.
Identify? So what was Identify?
It was an EYE. Yeah, basically this. You're helping two hot, anime sluts
lesbians
solve puzzles.
At least I thought they were.
What's your suggestion?
I'm kind of actually grasping at straws here because, the hacking thing was the first thing that came to mind for me because Call of Duty 4, which on DS I recently was praising, had really good little like bomb puzzles, and I think that part's really cool. Then of course there's all this sort of day-to-day puzzles people do, whether it's like like we talked about Scrabulous, we talked about Boggle, we talked about all that kind of stuff. I don't know, like mini games seem to lend themselves to the sort of things that you do all the time already. So maybe something like something as simple as like a cooking game. Like you could do like an easy.
I think it's actually been done. Cooking Mama.
Right, and so that's why
established that very well.
So I was thinking of that, and I was like, well, wait, isn't that Cooking Mama? But isn't Cooking Mama just a collection of mini games, really?
It is,
because that's what it really boils down to.
Well, it doesn't boil down to that. That's just what it is.
Maybe Sous Chef, the mini game where you're preparing the stuff for Cooking
America's
Mama.
Next Top Chef, Shane.
I'm pretty sure that the upcoming Iron Chef and Hell's Kitchen games will be cooking mini games.
Wait, there's gonna be a Hell's Kitchen game?
Yes, there will.
Gordon Ramsay is very cool.
Gordon Ramsay's the man.
Shane, really quick, virtual Crackle Barrel. Are you actually in a Crackle Barrel, or is there a bomb about to go off, or is it set in a more exciting virtual environment?
You'd go to different Cracker Barrels across America.
And that's it?
And play the cool games and order the delicious food.
Wow. Saved by the Bell.
All right, and actually I killed that 30 seconds early, but it was done. All right, AI Impaired brings us our first one off the boards, which is this one. Do you folks think that more big shot companies will embrace indie developers the way Valve has with Portal, or do you think indie developers will be stuck doing PSN and XBLA games?
Well, how is it being stuck doing that? I mean, no, but everybody's not like Gabe Newell. Well, he'll just like, oh, that's pretty interesting. Do you and your 20 friends want a job? Like, that is going to be the exception to the rule. Most people are going to prove themselves on PSN and XBLA, and what's wrong with that?
Well, and I think the whole idea of these games being on XBLA and PSN is great because it allows it's a race. Because it allows these small developers to make a game that reaches people and is good, where they don't have the assets or the power or the money to make a competitive AAA next-gen game.
But as Garnet pointed out earlier, the only example that sort of comes to mind other than that is what Bizarre did with Geometry Wars, right? That was sort of, and I think maybe that's what the questioner
But I think what they
asking.
did there is very interesting, and the point that I wanted to bring out of that was that rather than being a small indie group looking to prove themselves and catch someone's attention, this was a group within the developer who wanted to do something beyond just, hey, you know what, we're crunching 80 hours a week on Project Gotham, we're doing this over and over, but you know what, we have this creative energy and we want to give it an outlet.
Well, but that's different. I think established developers should be allowed to make these smaller games, but I don't think that a small developer should attempt to compete with the million-dollar games. You know, if they make a few really good downloadable games, well, maybe give them a chance.
But here's what I think should happen: is what if we all love to pick on EA, but EA is just a good stand-in. They're the biggest.
Well, they're the biggest. That's the deal.
Is what if EA did just like at film festivals? They'll show a short film before the movie starts.
Or Pixar does it.
Exactly. Yeah. Pixar does the shorts. Well, what if EA in front of its AAA shorts and AAA games, had an indie game?
Yeah. It's interesting.
That was thematically related.
Every so often you're going to hear something that you hear and you're like, oh my god, that's brilliant. That's fucking brilliant.
If anything comes out of Portal,
Thank you.
If anything comes out of Portal, it would be amazing if it's that, hey, let's take this kind of cool little experience. I mean, Portal, if you talk to people at Valve, they're like, yeah, if that game was put on its own, if it was like a 20 or 40 different, people's expectations played a lot into that game. It felt like it was this bonus little thing that they didn't come in with a whole lot of expectations. Nobody had really played it, and it was like a cool thing, and people took it as that, and it was the perfect vehicle, like the orange box, for all its terrible box art, at least was a really good vehicle for delivering this kind of new, kind of weird experience that there's not really a great way, save maybe Steam, save XBLA or PSN, to be delivered.
Well, and I do think that these indie developers will be snapped up. I think if you're a guy who makes a game and it's good and well received, you're going to get bombed.
So you're of the mind then that the indie development scene on downloadable games will become the proving grounds, the AAA ball where people recruit from.
Yeah.
Well, and the other interesting aspect of this is with Little Big Planet is they're approaching, I believe, a lot of established developers and Sony developers and saying, hey, make a level for our game. And a lot of the stuff with the what's the Xbox developers?
XNA
program are actually like frustrated or otherwise coders, people who are on teams or on larger projects, but just have this little pet project they want to see realized.
And
are doing it.
I'm hopeful that more of that spirit permeates this development community, and it doesn't just become a farm team for the big leagues, because there's a lot of cool creative stuff that can be done in small chunks, in small pieces.
But
I want people. I want developers. I think there are going to be developers who will actually eschew going into the big money job, because they'll find a viable way to make a living doing this and being pure to the art.
For every David Jaffe who wants to make little games, a lot of these guys dream of making a AAA game.
And you know what? As long as there are some David Jaffes out there, that's going to keep this going and keep giving us these things that are great like that.
Yeah, and also for every David Jaffe, there's like an animator on fucking Lord of the Rings games or whatever that just wants to be making a smaller game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Badong, hit it.
And that's very interesting, because it was actually right at the stroke of 4. That was pretty good work. All right, the next one is from Loblob. Though we often bitch about in-game advertising, shouldn't we actually support in-game advertising as a means to keep development costs down and allow developers to put more time and money into game development? So this kind of ties into what we were just talking about a minute ago. Where's the money stream coming from? How do you want the money stream to work? What about in-game advertising?
Well, earlier this year, EA exec said this exact same thing. He's like, well, if you want to have your good games, you're going to be used to ads. It's the way it's got to go. Well, it hasn't been that way for 20 years. And if you're trying to believe me, tell me that we need that in order to keep games going. I don't believe it.
Here's the thing. The thing about in-game advertising, though, it's not even an argument. Like, everybody knows there are certain games where in-game advertising works. There's certain games where it doesn't. If you have a NASCAR or a sports game, these are the most obvious examples.
Right.
And, even like a GTA where it's supposed to be a real city, any environment where those ads naturally propagate, it makes sense there. In fact, it looks more real in a Madden game when you're seeing ads for like the Simpsons game or whatever.
Do you remember Oddworld Munch's Odyssey, where you go to a Sobe vending machine to get health?
Okay, exactly. So in Mario Galaxy, it doesn't work there because there's not a fucking...
but if it was like Oddworld, Mario would go to a Coke vending machine and buy a Coke.
Right.
I'm of two minds on this.
Okay, what about Ratchet & Clank?
There's two ways to approach it. I mean, because even in Mario, it doesn't fit the game. But what if there were another 5 worlds, and they were brought to you by Coca-Cola, or they were brought to you by Geico?
I would download them.
You know what I'm saying? You download them and whatnot. You get them for free. The company pays, but they get their brand in front of you. The flip side of that is, no, I don't think we need it, in the sense that, or the idea that, as the person is sort of saying that, that it's going to keep development costs down, put more time and money. Maybe it is, but I mean, it's not going to keep cost to consumers down, because think about the fact that you go to theaters, right? The prices of movies are going up, and we're sitting in front of more and more ads before we start the movie. So
true, but let me throw you an exception. What about Future Weapons, the Gears of War maps that we got for free because of
Discovery Channel,
Military Channel,
History Channel?
What is it? Anyway,
it's bad sign. It's a bad sign that none of us can remember exactly where it came from. But I think it was Future Weapons, wasn't it?
It was Future Weapons.
Okay,
yes. So it was the Future Weapons program.
It was Future Weapons, and that they kind of bailed out Epic and Microsoft from this kind of weird confrontation they were having about, like, we're going to charge for this. No, we're not. And it's like, blah, blah, blah. No, actually, Future Weapons is going to provide it. Everyone's going to get it for free.
The fact is, we can bitch and moan about it, but advertising is here. It's not going to go away. Advertisers want to meet. I mean, like, again, screenwriters like my sister is on strike. Advertisers want to reach people, and I sat in on a Nielsen Activision massive presentation. I don't mean massive as large, I mean massive as the ad network.
Right.
And it's clear. I mean, this is not going away. We just have to suck it up and deal. But I think as gamers, we should push back where it's not appropriate.
Where it's not appropriate. And that's the key point, right? Is like there are a lot of eyeballs in games. So obviously the marketplace is there, and that makes sense. So the idealist in me says, this makes sense. It's another revenue stream. It'll help bring money into the games industry, which will help ultimately diffuse through all of the different people who make our games. And then the business person side of me says, you know what? This is one of those things that publishers are going to look at as a way to pad their line, stick in their pockets, and never tell anybody else about, because that way they actually make more money.
Isn't it like everything else, whereas if it's handled properly, it's fine, right?
Yeah,
like if it's like you can box the Burger King, or you can just fucking leave him and never see him. Like, then that's one thing. Or if it's sports games or a real world environment like GTA, it can actually add to the game.
Right.
It can actually...
Or Halo, where it was all this attendant advertising around the the game, but none of it was actually in the game.
You can ignore it if you want to. If you,
it needs to be tasteful and appropriate. But I fear that it's not going to be.
But I'll go back to what Mark was talking about, which was that in a game that is set in a normal setting that you recognize, it makes much more sense for it to be real than otherwise. For instance, go all the way back to like Crazy Taxi. When you're going to KFC, that makes a hell of a lot more sense than you going to Joe's Chicken Shack or whatever.
Exactly.
Because it gives it a real sense of. Is that what you were saying?
Well, yeah. I mean, it is like that, but it is one thing. I mean, like Red Bull and Wipeout. It is weird when it's just one thing. I think as it becomes more and more prevalent, it's actually going to get more and more invisible. Conversely, as ironic as that sounds.
All right, the next one. Let's see, who do we have next? We did in-game advertising, and after in-game advertising,
you got a big one coming.
We have a big one coming, gentlemen. So. There are a lot of big games this year, and CodePig would like to know, in console gaming, is 2007 the best year of all time for the number of high-quality software titles released? And let me just tell you that one of the reasons I was reticent to put this question in there, I told Guy this earlier, is that we didn't, in preparation for the show already takes a long time. I didn't have time to cull through every release list for 2007, 2004, 2001, 1996. So this is going to be anecdotal, and we're going to treat it that way. If you want to get all crazy about all that kind of stuff, there you go. The 4 minutes starts now. Is 2007 the best?
Is anybody going to say yes? No. No one is. No one's saying yes. Even though this year
to say yes.
This year has a lot of good games, but it's not the best.
I might say yes. So no, go ahead. Why would you? What's your argument
yes
against?
Now is like the flea, on the dog, saying like, "Wow, this is a really big dog." I mean, we're still in it. How the fuck can you tell now?
Well, but but come on, we've seen preview code, we've seen review code.
No, but
I will. Here's the way I might be able to take us out of it gracefully.
Good luck with this.
I would say that there have been a number of games that have been sort of breakthroughs or milestones or consolidated, important design trends. The Halo 3s, the BioShocks, Portals, things like, Call of Duty 4 even, I'm saying things like that. And so I think that's like where we're tempted to sort of see it that way. And I would say in some ways the overall bar for games, and I feel like that's true almost every year, sort of like steadily goes up.
This year is definitely better than last year. So I think, in short-sighted, it seems like this year is brilliant. But
I think why I say like it's too early to call it is because any kind of thing like this greatest year of all time, I don't think you can even judge.
Well, the perspective.
Maybe not even next year. Yeah, it's so hard to actually.
That's kind of a cop out. That's kind of the all. Well, when we get to the next.
No, it's not, because otherwise you're like every year is like, oh, this is the greatest year ever.
I don't think last year we would have said this was the greatest year ever.
No, well, maybe any new console launch, but I mean, any year is almost the greatest year ever to be a gamer because you have these new systems. You still have the old games. It's not like they fucking disappeared.
Well, here's a good example. I mean, for me, 2001 is a year that's like of interest. I've only been covering games, I've said before on the show, since 1999. So 2001 looms large because you had Metal Gear Solid 2, you had Final Fantasy X, you had Devil May Cry 4, you had Grand Theft Auto 3. You know what I'm saying? I mean, these are all, these are games that in some of their own ways.
You meant Devil May Cry 1.
Devil May Cry 1, exactly.
Yeah, before
that were breakthroughs. The thing about this year is, when I look at my contenders for Game of the Year, when I look at BioShock, when I look at Portal, when I look at Desktop Tower Defense, yes, I said it. And when I look
fucking game is awesome, by the way.
What?
Have you not ever played Desktop Tower Defense?
No.
That's a whole other subject.
I don't want to use up our 4 minutes, but guys,
you should try Mario Galaxy instead.
Guys, get on it. And when I look at everyday shooter and the qualities they bring to the table, is that I don't know if that overall makes this year the best year. And I'm not all the way through it. Rock Band, for instance, which I think has potential. Yeah. But I do feel like these are games that are going to stand the test of time.
And we do have some new trends this year, like downloadable stuff, Rock Band, things like that. Like, paradigms are shifting, so it seems like a landmark year.
But a lot of people will go back to like 1998 with
2005,
Ocarina of Time, with Metal Gear Solid.
I mean, the year of San Andreas, MGS3, Halo 2. That was a big year too. Metroid Prime 2, like all those things.
BioShock, Mario, Mass Effect, Call of Duty 4,
and then you had
Assassin's Creed.
04 though, wasn't 04? 04 was San Andreas.
Okay,
Halo
04.
3.
You're right. 04,
yeah,
04,
exactly.
04.
I mean, I still say, and I think this almost every year, like there's no better time to be a gamer because you have the Wii to like get your parents and casual people into it. You have like those games with it. You have the PS3 finally just now starting to get a few games. Xbox 360
but like Mark,
is
you and I, you remember 1991. I mean, 1991 was an amazing year. That's so long ago that the people who were asking this probably were like 4 years old at the time.
I graduated college that year.
Exactly. So, it's just perspective.
Holy shit.
It's a great year.
I graduated high school that
year.
But
I will say that this year will contend.
Yes.
When we talk about best years.
It is absolutely.
Look, let me frame it. Let me frame it a different way. Let me frame it this. We have already had multiple discussions on how the hell we're going to handle Game of the Year this year.
That's not unique.
It's not. It's unique to this year in that there are so many contenders and so many contentious arguments on. Well, this game has this element. This game has this element. This game has this element.
I think if you chart years to when consoles come out, that it's not so rare a thing. I think like the second year that a lot of the consoles have come out, people getting used to it, it hits its stride. A lot of the last years of consoles out, fourth and fifth year, you're getting kind of the best games. I mean, God of War 2 was this year on PlayStation 2. So like a lot of those things did combine this year.
Finish your fucking thought, Mark McDonald.
A lot of those things did combine this year. It was a great year, best year ever. No one can say yet.
He's getting these last comments, and he's very good at that.
Good.
Well, come on, he's not. I mean, he's not as if employee anymore. He doesn't have to play by the rules.
That's right. I've broken the shackles.
Solid tactician there. All right, the next one is that. So we have a lot of big multiple number sequels this year, right?
Oh wow.
Rafterman 1701 poses this question to us: if you had one franchise to end, which one would it be and why?
I got it.
I got it too.
I got mine first.
All right, so hold on. We're gonna do this. Shane, Mark, and N-Guy. Which one of us should close out?
I'm wondering if any of us have the same one.
Shane,
in mind.
what do you have?
I have Dynasty Warriors. Okay, there have been like 10 releases in the last 5 years. They're all the same. Nobody cares. And like I don't understand. I understand like Chinese people being interested in the romance. No, seriously, in the romance of Shut up. In the Romance of Three Kingdoms. But why do Japanese people care? And why do American people care? I have a friend growing up. He knew all their names. I'm like, why do you care?
All right, dude.
Why do you care?
You chose an easy one. All right. I'm going to choose a relatively like tough love one. Garnett had to take his headphones off.
Hi, it's based on China, dude. That's not like racist or anything.
Yeah. Okay. That's easy. Like, how are you going to get angry mail?
No, but they're still really
Dynasty
successful.
Warriors
They
lovers?
sell like hundreds and thousands of copies.
All right, here's my thing. Metroid Prime.
Whoa!
That's right.
They've kind of done all they can do.
Time to evolve.
By the way, I'm still
to
trumping
evolve
you.
again.
Okay, wait a minute.
I don't believe you're going to trump me, but Metroid Prime, N-Guy, everybody knows you fucking hate that Metroid ever went into 3D. I loved the most recent Metroid Prime.
More than me.
It was a return to form. It was great, but
why do you want
because they did everything they could do with the form, it's time to evolve again. Like the original Metroid, you had, they probably pushed it with like 4 or 5 games, but some of them kind of don't count. Let's be real.
But by evolve, aren't you asking them to do more in the series?
Yeah, I'm not saying throw away Metroid by any means.
Rethink it again.
I'm saying it's time for Metroid.
He didn't say Metroid, he said Metroid Prime.
Exactly.
All right. N-Guy, what you got?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm not ready to leave that yet. No, because I think that's kind of a cop-out.
We only have 4 minutes. Shut the fuck up. N-Guy, what do you got?
That's true.
We're only at 1:48. We got plenty of time. You don't wait.
N-Guy,
don't dismiss me. We're not leaving the Metroid yet.
Don't make it like Tomb Raider or anything easy. Give me something good.
You're giving your buddy a cop-out on that one.
I agree with him.
You're pushing me now. I'm feeling like, should I say Halo 3? Should I say Guitar Hero 3?
I want to hear it.
But no, I'm actually going to say, you're probably going to be a little mad at me. Maybe it's not sticking my neck out there, but it will be relative to reviews.
All right.
I am going to say Siphon Filter.
Oh, come on.
That's pretty a cop-out, too, really. I mean,
you think it's a cop-out?
I think that it already fell on its sword.
That franchise has a lot of fans, and it always seems kind of like an imitator to me.
Not only that, but I mean, the 2 games on PSP have gotten these really good reviews, and I kind of I sort of don't understand them because
I'm going to need a shield.
I can see where there's a vibe that's kind of compelling, but I don't care about Gabe.
Right.
I don't care about the environment. I didn't follow the games before. But here's the other thing. The game it's not a test of skill, it's a test of will. It's just sort of pushing through. I don't understand like why it's getting these great reviews. Like you just sort of like lock on and shoot. I don't understand this.
Well,
why is it so popular?
I think it is.
Sony needs to take that impulse that has them making that game and turn it into something else.
All right, G.
So I'm going to need a shield because I'm going to tell you that the series that needs to go on the shelf after the upcoming game numbered 5
Silent
is Resident Evil.
Put
it away.
Back
away.
Could Garnet be more wrong?
Yeah, could you be more wrong? No,
wait. Back away. Do something new.
What was the last game?
Wait a second.
Did you play Resident Evil 4?
Wait a second.
But
Stop.
is it Resident
Hold on a
Evil?
second.
Is it
Garnet.
Resident Evil anymore?
Garnet, now you can kill my people.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that a big advance before?
Garnet, you say a lot of really, really stupid things.
This is in the top 5.
I don't say a lot of stupid things. And by the way,
hold on a second.
Just when they finally got it right,
exactly.
Cancel it.
Dude, if you would have said that after Resident Evil 0, I would be fucking right behind you with fucking pom-poms. But did you played Resident Evil 4, right?
Yes. Have you seen Resident Evil 5?
And that's what I'm saying. Go out on top. Go out on top. Go out on top and walk away because I still have the Resident Evil Online fiascos, the gun shooter game fiascos.
Has it been mishandled? Yes. Are they making it better than ever? Yes. You couldn't be more wrong.
But you know what? How much Resident Evil is still inside Resident Evil? I'm sorry, but I actually
the less the better.
Well, dude,
and that's kind of the problem, isn't it? Because the Umbrella Chronicle, the Umbrella storyline was something I enjoyed following.
It's over.
And the movies have steadily declined. I haven't seen the third one, but I've heard.
We're not talking about what movie series you want to hear.
I'm saying put the whole goddamn thing to bed and carry forward in something else.
Sticking out his neck.
Does Resident Evil 4?
Garnet sticking out his neck for the sake of the show.
Does Resident Evil 4 really say to you they have done all they can do with that series? I mean, is that what it says to you? Because it is not what it says to me. It says it is a whole new fucking world, and me and you, Shane, we're going to get into a car and drive into the horizon because it's exciting.
Rarely have I heard such idiocy on this podcast.
I just hope that you guys...
That's saying something.
I just hope that you guys restrain yourselves when you're taking aim on my people. That's all I ask for.
They're not all evil.
All right, so, by the way, the next question is coming from Aristotle, and this was something I started to hint at a minute ago. Aristotle has come back from the ancient halls of the Acropolis to give us this one. Do you think that entering into a games criticism profession ruins your enjoyment of games? Does it cause you to only look at games in a critic's perspective and not a gamer's perspective?
This is very interesting for 2 reasons. One is because Penny Arcade actually took exception with a lot of people's Assassin's Creed review, and basically what they were saying was not that it was basically saying that being a game reviewer and being under time pressure is the only reason that you are counting this stuff against Assassin's Creed, which I don't agree with. Like, I agree with what they're saying in that if you are under a time crunch, the game is going to be way less enjoyable than if you're just free-flowing,
When is that ever not true?
But exactly, right. And it's not always as much of a pressure with game reviewers as you think it is. And then something also that was brought up, N-Guy, on your blog was how you're talking about the hard casual, which we have to come up with a new name for that.
You're not feeling it?
I want to come up with a new name for that just because it's got to be something punchy. It's got to be something...
Because Mark's never had a casual
copyrighted.
Hard casual light enthusiast?
Copyrightable. What's soft on the outside, hard on the inside? It's got to be something.
That's what she said.
What's long and hard and full of soft stuff on the inside that shoots all over when you get excited?
Back to this question. The answer is no. I was already being this critical about games when I was like 5 years old. I play games I wouldn't have played before now, because before I would look at criticism and play games that were recommended to me.
Right.
And I wouldn't play everything. But yeah, I mean, all of us have a critical eye. You know if you like something, if you don't like something. Yeah. It's not like you go into games and be like, I love everything. I'm a stupid kid.
I think you're right, Shane. I mean, for me, it's, my whole entree into being a journalist was writing. I started out writing movie reviews in college and then proceeded from there. And I'd get that question all the time.
Like, how can you still like movies?
For me, it's really that what being a critic does is gives you access to the language to explain the gut reaction you had and to understand it, to interrogate it, to challenge it even sometimes. I think that's what it does. So, but my gut reaction is still my gut, and that's what I trust more than anything. And so, for instance, at the end of the day, the fact that even though, as I did in my Versus mode with Steven, where I talked about why the controls in Phantom Hourglass were amazing, and hinted at why the controls in Manhunt 2 are ass, yet I'm finding the experience in Manhunt 2 more compelling than I am in Thing. as a critic, I have to try and find a way to explain that, to talk about that, to acknowledge that.
Right.
And that's what it comes from. But the reaction I'm having is my gut reaction.
And I mean, the thing is, there are good and bad game reviewers, just like there are good and bad reviewers of any kind. But I think what you say there is exactly right. Like, there are some people that let, hey, I have to hurry through this game, affect the game. There are some people that don't take their audience in mind. There are some people that just see their own myopic worldview. But that's why you have good game reviewers and you have bad game reviewers.
Or give a game a good review because they feel they should give it a good review. And I'm like...
Hype affected by anticipation or by... I mean, I think that plays into it much more than being hurried by a review.
In some game reviews, there are external circumstances.
And there are some of that, yeah.
Garnet, take us home. What's your take, man?
I didn't have a lot of... I mean, first of all, look, I mean, those of you who listen to the show know that I do this because I love it. So I don't have a lot to bring to this. So that if you know me, you know that I have never been happier in my life than being able to sit here at 7:30 in the evening on a Thursday night talking about games that we're all sharing in this vibe, because it not only has it not a, what was the question? The question it was, does it ruin your enjoyment of the game? This has heightened my enjoyment of games exponentially.
Right.
Well,
this is made for
we're all such fans that when you get to play a game 2 months early, you're excited that you get to play this game 2 months early.
But let me say, what will ruin your how you view games forever, from everything I know, from everything I talk to people. Strategy guides. That's a good one.
Strategy guides are really tough.
But not as much as developing games.
Oh, yeah.
When you develop games, it is so hard for you to not see the man behind the curtain anymore. You're sitting there like, I know this guy at Kojima Productions, every game he plays, he starts shooting shit in the background so that he can see, is this actual geometry, or is this like just part of the background? Like, it destroys everything. Developers, God save you.
Nice segue, Mark.
Mark
Excellent
is stealing.
segue. I was almost going to step on it with something else I was going to say about your show, but I'm not going to because he had the perfect segue.
He's trying to steal all of these final pieces. I'm just going to say one thing before we go on to this next question.
That ended, dude. You can't.
I am saying one more thing. Which
you can't. No,
yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Hit it, Shane.
Shane.
Hit the button.
Shane.
Hold on.
Shane.
Wait. Hold on. There you go.
It's his fucking show.
Oh, it's not his fucking show.
And Guy, that is ironic on so many levels.
We have rules and 4-minute warning, Garden.
Island of the Day Before asks us this question. Several of your colleagues have crossed the counter, which you put in quotes, from games journalism to working on game companies. For each one-upper, and Guy, of course, you're in this case a one-upper, what appeals to you about working for a game company? What doesn't appeal? What would you personally consider? What would you personally consider making the switch?
Well, everyone's.
I hear
who's
the
gonna
counter starting.
Why is Shane looking at me?
Because he asked you.
Maybe that means I should go.
Go hit it. You first.
I go back and forth. I mean, looking at it from the lens of movies, I studied filmmaking in college. It was something I wanted to do, so I think like, this is a new medium. I'm studying it. I'm reporting about it. It would be interesting to work on it. And the more I found out about games and how they're made, the more I was like, ooh, I don't really think there's a place in here for me. And now that I've got the blog, I'm writing about more. I'm sort of like, well, maybe there is. I mean, I don't know. It's very different. And I think the challenge is we get to do this. And this is what's great about what you guys have done with this podcast is the reviews can sort of the review format, you guys don't have ultimately that much space. So you have to really reduce and crunch it down. What I love about One Up Yours is you guys get to talk it out. It sounds so much more human. It sounds more like the conversations I have with my friends.
Right.
And that kind of stuff. And making a game, and when you hear the EA spouse stories about crunch and like that kind of thing, it's like,
are you talking about the old fat baby stuff?
The fat baby stuff, whatever. Here's the thing.
Talk to any of your friends in development. It's real.
Yeah.
Like
it is real.
It's a hard life.
Real.
And I, not to say that we don't work hard, we do. Not to say that we don't work long hours. Not to say that we don't pull all-nighters.
We don't work 15 hours a day, 7 days a week for 14 months.
And that doesn't appeal to me. But that said,
wait till you get to be online.
There's sometimes when you look at a game or you play a game that's as inspiring as a Portal or a BioShock or an everyday shooter, and you say, wow, if I let my imagination run free, maybe I could offer something that would inspire people and move people too.
Right. So that I think, and it says a lot. Like, I think the actual hesitancy into going into game development is like with what we do now, it's like you're doing 2, 3, 4 games a week. If you want to make
one, and you know about everything.
You know about everything. Which
we
and
have
actually,
the best job.
When you get into game development, you enter in this whole other community where people trust you.
You know about even more things.
Whole other weird shit, but it's
insular.
It's a double-edged sword, yeah. But you're on to other things. It's like, you know what, even like the worst cover story, like Shane, people get branded with certain series, certain games, and you might have to write about them like 4 or 5 times. You might have to do like a cover story, long review. You might have to live with the game, at worst maybe for like 6 months, follow it, talk to people all the time, etc. With a game in development, literally every day you are living with this one game.
It's your life.
It's your life for 2 or 3 years. The minutia, everything about it.
And you're seeing it when it's an ugly embryo, when there's not that much cool, where there's not that much interesting.
Let me pull this back for a second, which is I want to answer the question, which is what would you personally consider making the switch? Well, for me, I don't want to make the switch. I'll make that patently clear right up front because I adore what I'm doing. What would make me think about switching? Something like the opportunity to work with a Ken Levine. Something like the opportunity to work with like a Warren Spector, or something to work on there was an opportunity to work on something like a Tomb Raider, where something that was really meaningful to me, that had been a franchise that I grew up with, that had been an integral part of my passion for gaming.
I got some friends at CD. Can we talk about
I know people. I'm just saying that's what would make me even stop for a second and think for a moment and say, oh, you know what? That would be an amazing opportunity.
The only thing that would make me switch is like sometimes it feels like you're sort of shooting spitballs, at the Death Star or something.
Right.
It's like the game's already out. Whatever you have to say about it, whatever easy fix or whatever insight you might have is wasted. If it was sort of a position where you felt like you could control, and these are like the coveted fucking sweet positions that there are very few of, where you feel like you can actually influence the project, but you don't have to get bogged down in the day-to-day stuff.
That's what I would want. I would want to basically
Absolutely.
be like, how Ben Gordon is Chief Creative Officer of EA.
Right.
I'd love to work in, and I don't know exactly what his group does, but I'd love to work in his office and basically kibitz, basically do what I do now.
Yeah, I don't want to just go be another
write
guy
about
on
the
team.
games that they're making,
Yeah. You want the
and
dream
not have
version.
any of the responsibility, but tons of influence. That's what I would want.
You want what your relatives at Christmas and stuff think that that we do, or game developers do. You want that job that exists for like 5 or 6 magical people in the world
and a big paycheck.
What the hell is with you and the? Do you have a timer?
I must be the last word on it.
Are you looking at an extra timer? My goodness, it's kind of like second sight here or something. It's kind of scaring me.
We're winding down.
Number 8. And our final question of the day comes from the philosopher, which is interesting. We had Aristotle, and now we have the philosopher. The philosopher asks, what do you think it would take for a hip-hop game? And Shane, N-Guy and I had we were going through, we were like, oh, we got to hit on this one because
this is coming.
Because Shane, I saw you at the Sony party with Ludacris. You were bobbing your head.
I'll say so let me get this down here.
N-Guy, you have no idea how into hip-hop I am.
Guitar Hero, but for hip-hop to work.
Subscription to the source, Shane, proud.
Okay, it can't be. Hold on.
I'll never forget, before you read the question, the time Mark was at my house, and he comes out of my room, and he's like, is that a copy of The Source?
Because, Shane, it happened like that. It happened like overnight. It was like Shane's
I'm not allowed to read The Source?
No, all of a sudden you're like fucking wearing Bathing Ape and like subscribing to The Source. I'm
Dude,
like, what happened to the Shane that I knew?
Wait a second. He had a jailer type transformation?
No,
exactly.
No.
Dude, no, N-Guy. It was overnight. Overnight. It was
Mark, I've liked hip hop since
one day I'm playing like Hotel Mario.
Dude, he was out there. He was out there flash dancing on the corn harvester in Kansas, and he was all like,
"Dude, it was overnight."
Mark McDonald. I've seen the Wu-Tang live 3 times.
It was.
Whoa!
It was overnight.
Well, by the way, while we were selecting, what were we listening to? We were all right with the music?
Oh yeah, man. It's like
read the question.
Garnet goes way back on hip hop.
The question is
it like Run DMC or?
It can't just
Houdini?
be a microphone in hip hop songs because that's just karaoke. So I think the publisher would have to make some sort of mixing board like Peripheral, so the player can be the producer and the rapper of their favorite hip hop songs. What do you think it would take to make hip hop hero.
Let's not kid ourselves. It is coming.
Well, no, but they already tried it. IDOS made Get On to Mike. It was a huge disaster.
Yeah.
Like,
are you throwing that out as really like a proof of concept?
It shows that it's really hard to accurately convey rap through a microphone in a gameplay.
Okay,
doesn't work.
rap is got a connotation to it that I think undercuts where hip hop scene is today, which is way past whatever rap.
We've got
music, we've got mixing, we've got beats, we've got.
I think
that's what I'm saying. There are 4 elements of hip hop, right?
I think
There's DJing, b-boying, graffiti, and
you could try
and MCing.
You could try to combine all these things, and there have been production, software in the past like MTV Music Generator, yada yada. But I think even if you try to do dancing and mixing and rapping and production and recruiting video girls to grind on poles,
dude, wait, you just stole my idea.
Does it all come? Does it all come together?
Hold on, because you did steal it from it. What was your idea? Lay it down.
My idea is it would be the hip hop equivalent of Rock Band. Is that you'd have an MC. You would have turntable controls.
Yes.
But then you would also have 2 dance pads where the video chick
you
could do their dance moves on the side.
Vita Guerrera,
I like this.
Vita Guerrera.
Oh, dude, big Vita fan. Big Vita fan.
Dude,
and then, dude, you know who else? Jessica Rabbit. Melissa Ford.
Oh my God,
dude!
Ford.
Except that
everybody's had sex with Melissa Ford, right?
No. Do you have a King subscription?
I've read some King.
There you go. You go.
No. There's a terrible disconnect when you look over and you see your skinny fucking, 25-year-old friend dancing on the dance pad, and you're looking on the screen and seeing like some. That part of it, I don't know if it's going to work.
You're seeing Buffy the Body. You know what I'm saying? Doing the booty clap.
But the turntables and the mic, I think, is absolutely as inevitable as the sun coming up tomorrow. This is where this is going.
See, I agree with you on this, and this is where you got to bring in like the frequency amplitude sort of angle. If you got to bring in mixing, you got to bring in sampling, you got to bring in some elements that make it a game.
Maybe
because
later.
You still got to have the interactive part, right?
Well, and I think you have to solve for hip hop because MCing is the element of hip hop that has gone to the foreground. I mean,
absolutely.
That's the most prominent, the most lucrative. Is someone's going to have to figure out a way to make MCing into a real game.
No one's done it right.
You got to be able to drop the rhyme. You got to put it all together in time, and you've got to make it just.
Keep going, Garnett. Don't stop him.
Garnett's a poet. He didn't even know it.
Do you want to have?
But that's what we were talking about, right? We were talking about the poetry angle of it. Because what was your other idea? I'm going to give you the credit. I'm not going to take it from you. Bring us home with your other idea.
What was my other idea? I already forgot it.
The cards.
The cards. Oh, that's right.
Snap.
I forgot about it. The idea. The idea is instead of Eye of Judgment, you would have Cipher of Judgment. As the whole thing is, you would have these cards that represented famous MCs and DJs and video girls and whatnot, and there would be an Eye of Judgment like game where you throw down the card, and then like out comes a beat or a rhyme or a groove or like a butt shaking.
Are you kidding me? This shit is fucking live right here, dude.
Cipher of Judgment.
Not a bad
I'm like,
Cipher of Judgment. I'm telling you, is
Rick Marks at Sony R&D, make it happen.
You were bringing something, and I was like, I'm gonna throw my Ludacris on top of that, and you were like, yeah
exactly.
It was.
Exactly.
I'm telling you, that right there deserves. That right there. That's what you got.
Is it actually 4 minutes, or are you just doing it because it works out?
Well,
right?
it's 3:57.
All right.
Are you okay with 3:57?
Hold
on. I'm sorry. Mark wanted to get in the last word on hip hop.
Fair enough.
Mark, we're already running late. Let's move on. All right.
Fair enough.
All right, there you go. Don't go anywhere because when we come back, we have NPDs, and this group right here has a little bit to say about sales age. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on the other side.
This show is brought to you by the Entertainment Consumers Association. Protect your right to game and join the ECA at theeca.com.
Yo, NPD numbers rock.
Oh my.
Don't do that again.
No.
Garnett's still feeling it from the last segment.
I'm completely feeling it from the last segment. I love the way we brought that home. You have no idea. And Guy, how fun was it setting up everything? Was it not fun? Did you have a good time setting up the show?
Dude, especially since you guys called for it. I know there are readers who've called for it. People want me to do a podcast, want Steven to do a podcast,
they can't
want
get
me and
enough
Steven
of
to do a
you.
podcast.
Oh, wait a minute.
I felt like watching you prepare for the show and helping you prepare for the show was like a master class in podcast preparation.
Come on, man. Whatever.
Secret's given up.
I'm totally.
Are we going to see a Level Up podcast? Is that what's in the works? What's going on?
I guess I can exclusively reveal to you guys that, I do want to get a pilot together. That'll be more of an internal thing and sort of figure out whether it's something I can do because... Yeah, honestly, I'm not saying this just because I love you guys, but you guys have really set a high bar, and so for me to step into the arena, I feel I have to be able to bring it on that level if I'm going to do it.
When you got the Skrilla?
I would say you guys are in trouble if N-Guy starts a podcast.
N-Guy, can I come be on your podcast?
Yeah, seriously. Hey, I'll fly to New York.
By the way, I'm going to be looking for an apartment in New York next month. So if anyone has any suggestions on where I might be going in New York,
well, wait till you hear it first.
There you go.
Then you can decide.
NPD numbers we have right now because they backed off that whole thing. It was pretty funny how that went down. The whole deal of we're not going to show the numbers, but then everyone uproar. What do you know? People want to know the numbers.
Torches and pitchforks, yeah.
Can I give myself a pat on the back?
Yes, do it.
Yeah, absolutely. POB is absolutely.
Absolutely. That was revealed exclusively on Newsweek's blog, Level Up, proprietary by me and Guy Kroll. Yeah, it was. And what happened was, because I guess I can sort of say now, was I was just having an email exchange with David Riley at NPD about the numbers. And
D. Riley is the man. He comes through with this stuff
absolutely.
for us.
Love working with him. He's great to work with, very helpful. And it just sort of came up casually. And
did he not know that these things are dissected and predicted?
It really actually seemed like he was not going to worry about it.
I was surprised because he does post on NeoGAF, so I figured he would know how people are into the numbers. But I think he was just very locked into the perspective, and he didn't say it's directly to me, but they felt that that's what they had said early on, is that the numbers were not permanent, that they were going to reveal the hardware numbers. And so they were just going back to the way it done before, which is not revealing them, and not understanding how attached, we as journalists in the media and people on message boards had gotten to them. So I think he was unprepared for it. I knew it was going to be big news when I announced it, but I didn't know what was going to happen after that.
We're on the serious tip now, so let me lay out the numbers real quick, and then we'll throw it open because there's a whole lot to talk about.
Break it down.
Hardware numbers. We'll break it down like this. Xbox 360 is only off 30% month to month. Their hardware sales did fall, though, to 366,000 versus 527,000 the month prior, which would have been September. However, what is Wii doing? Somehow Wii is still managing to sell amazingly, jumps up a little bit.
Let me tell you what Wii's
500.
doing.
Hold on, let me get through the numbers. 519,000, which is amazing. PlayStation 3 still sort of struggling. This was prior to the price drop. Only 2 days of price drop data in here.
3 days, right?
3 days?
I think.
Was it 3 days? Okay, 3 days of price drop data. 121,000. PlayStation 2. A little bit of a tail off from their prior month at 215. They went down to 184,000. DS continues to also be strong. If you look at Nintendo's overall hardware platform, they are just unbelievably dominating the scene. The DS, 458,000 units. Let's talk about some hardware.
Well, nothing has changed for Nintendo. The reason we went up is because they ship more units. It continues to sell out. That's not a surprise to anybody.
Right.
The continued success of PSP after the price drop is encouraging for that. 360 did very well.
DS still doing crazy.
DS doing crazy numbers. PS2 still doing well.
Yeah, PS2 still outselling the PS3.
Yep.
Well, but PS2 falling off a little bit there.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it's
nothing to worry about, right?
Not really.
And the thing that's interesting about the Microsoft drop, for me personally, it was a surprise that it was that much.
Well, it was the month. Last month.
So here's the question.
Last
month was Halo, and one of my best sources, what he insists on, we go back and forth on this, is I say, look, I even said about last month's numbers. Microsoft had their come to Jesus moment. They dropped Halo, the second coming, and yet they were only able to beat Nintendo Wii by about 26,000 units. And now we see
marginal numbers, and very marginal numbers.
But it was at the end of the month,
right? It was at the end, but they still had 12 days,
right?
My source's argument was we haven't seen the crossover yet between supply and demand on the Wii. That supply is still being outstripped by demand for it. That's why we're seeing these numbers.
Right.
And this guy crunches numbers. He's good at that stuff. I'll leave it at that. But where Microsoft does have to be a little bit concerned about those numbers is historically what you see from October to November and November to December is that the numbers double, right? Mm-hmm. So if I'm not mistaken, I'm just going off memory, is if they're at 330-some thousand, correct?
366, yeah.
Then they doubled to 720, then they doubled about 1.5. Those are kind of in the ballpark of the numbers they did last year.
Right.
Oh, that's no argument.
That's not great considering where the price point is at.
Okay.
So if history holds true, that's going to be a continued sign of weakness on Microsoft relative to having launched first, having, a great online service, all of these things, having Halo 3 come out. These guys should be in a bit more of a catbird seat, and they're being completely outstripped by Nintendo. And what that says to me is there's still an opportunity, even as it continues to diminish, for Sony to turn things around. Relative to
Halo is
Microsoft.
selling. Halo. By the way, let's start to bring in some titles here. Halo 3 during this period sold 433,800 units, which doesn't include the launch day boost.
Well, but that does make it the number one unit based on number one game based on units sold for the month of October.
Sort of. It's not exactly the number one unit because, as something Stephen Totillo pointed out to N-Guy and I, if you combined PlayStation 2 versions of Guitar Hero 3 naked and with the guitar, it becomes number one.
Units sold.
Right.
Units sold.
Right.
And is that not a fair comparison?
It is, completely.
Because the peripheral...
and based on dollars, Halo isn't number one at all.
Oh my God!
It's all Guitar Hero.
Guitar Hero 3 has the number 2, the number 3, the number 4, and the number 8 position. The number 8 position is without the guitar.
And what this proves is that Activision was very smart in what they did, and the onus falls upon EA to see what Rock Band can do now.
Well, the onus falls on EA beyond that. How did EA not buy either Red Octane and Guitar Hero or Harmonix?
Well,
the only thing
that goes back to the falling out between Harmonix and Red Octane. That's a whole other kettle of fish.
It does, but still, the fact that MTV, and don't get me wrong, MTV is a music-oriented company. Maybe Alex and Greg wanted to be hooked up with a music company more than they wanted to be at EA, though EA does have Steve Schnurr, who was like a major record label exec, and I know people like to diss on Trax, EA Trax, but the fact of the matter is I'm a big fan of Steve Schnurr and what he's done overall for EA and their credibility as far as music, but the fact remains that I find it hard to believe that if Riccatello had been at EA, that EA would not have acquired either Red Octane or Harmonix, because one of the things that marked Riccatello's tenure at EA was mergers and acquisition. They bought lots of stuff.
Right.
And he comes back, and they buy Bioware and Pandemic.
For those who aren't big industry insiders, John Riccatello returning to EA is a very big deal because he brings kind of this perfect storm together of business acumen and actually being a gamer guy.
Absolutely.
And you know what though, if you're in the music game business, who do you want to have own you, MTV or EA? We don't know all the stuff behind it, but MTV.
For Harmonix got the best of all worlds.
Yes, they did.
They're owned by MTV.
Right.
And the cred that brings and the connections that brings, they're distributed by EA.
Right.
And EA has by far the best distribution system, and they can distribute you in North America and Europe just as well. So that's the best overall position for them. But for EA, at the end of the day, when you're doing an EA Partners deal, the return to EA is not as big as if that's an owned studio. And I have to think that, look at Boogie. Clearly, EA wants to find a way into the music business that they the rhythm game business that they wholly own. This is just part of the action.
Really? So you think this is not something they're completely thrilled about? You think they're looking for a piece of the action here to segue into them being the action?
They have to.
I'm sure a lot of people are looking at that. Nintendo, a lot of people are probably looking, just salivating at Guitar Hero. And
well, one of the questions we left off was someone who was asking about, who do we consider the real originators of, the rhythm game? And
Konami.
And Konami, I think, even more than EA, completely screwed this up.
So we talked about this before.
Guitar
People better been fired.
Drum Mania.
Guitar Freaks.
They were doing Karaoke Revolution.
Rock Band before Rock Band was
and
6 years ago.
So for real. Me and Brandon used to play that game at DreamWorks all the time. Guitar Freaks.
And they already were licensing music. Like we've talked about this before. People should be fired.
Konami did make DDR a success, but they considered bringing Guitar Freaks and stuff to America, but it didn't seem viable.
Dude, I would argue DDR became a success in the B-Mania games became a success despite Konami of America, not because of it. And they couldn't ignore it anymore because the arcade culture became so fucking crazy and out there.
Well, and here's the other thing is that Konami not only missed the boat once but twice.
Right.
If Rock Band had not been introduced, let's just say that Red Octane and Harmonix had stayed joined, or Harmonix had, then we know they wouldn't have just done something else.
Right.
There would have been an opportunity for Konami to bring something in under their own brand and be at least the Pepsi to Guitar Hero's Coke.
Right.
Now that we've got Coke and Pepsi,
Right. Yep.
there's no way.
No place
they would
for 'em.
have to get a license
I agree.
of
Plus,
some kind.
The part
That's a really good point.
part that's a pain in the ass with all of these games is that you have to license the music, right? You have to get these relationships in the music industry. Konami is was doing that with DDR and
Well,
American Idol, and they completely fucked it
To
up.
Konami's credit, they have American Idol license. They got that away from Codemasters. It's a smart acquisition. Back to the
but
NPD.
they
But
fucked it up. That they're already talking
This is
with
actually a really
music
big
industry
story.
people and just completely fucked up the whole guitar
And I think the big-
guitar freaks.
the big
Shane,
thing
here's the
here
reason
is-
why. Here's one thing. Here's the reason why it's important is because, at the end of the day, EA will probably, out revenue Activision by the end of the year. But we're going to look at the end of the year and see how close Activision got
Off
and-
one title.
Off one title, pretty much. But here's the thing. Here's the irony: is as John Riccitiello has smartly evolved EA away from what it was and into something else. The 4 divisions, lessening the reliance on licensed IP, and renewed emphasis on original IP and owned IP, which is part of the reason of the deal with BioWare Pandemic. There's a lot of IP that they own.
Right.
Activision is doing a really good job of becoming the EA that EA used to be. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that, because look at the license of games. Shrek did really well for them. Transformers did really well for them, and Guitar Hero did really well for them. Those 3 games are going to get Activision to be breathing down EA's neck.
Well, you even have Activision dissing EA's Bond games this week, that kind of thing. They got that license away from them. But
Let's not even get on the Bond game.
anyway,
thing.
but
I think
back
the big
to
deal,
the NPDs.
the big deal here is that Rock Band has legs because of the ties that MTV gives them into the music business. And ultimately, these games have to stop being about the individual pieces of software and more about the delivery of good music that people want to play inside the game. How many times do I need to buy a plastic guitar?
Right.
I have plastic guitars.
A lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I
Apparently
don't.
so.
That's the point.
All right, back to the NPDs. It's an impressive second month for Zelda, Phantom Hourglass, and Brain Age. They didn't do quite so well in their first month, but this month they rocked. They're at 5 and 10, respectively. Very good. We Play continues to baffle all comers
Yes.
by selling an additional 262,000 units.
Are people still baffled by it?
I mean, it has a controller, but it's kind of a piece of shit. But
I had an editor
How
come
is that
into my
baffling?
office.
How is that baffling when the
it shows Nintendo is very smart.
when
It's
the
very,
Wii-
very smart.
When the Wii hardware is selling so strongly,
But
how is it
yeah,
baffling?
it's not bad. You need a second controller. Hey,
Yeah.
I got a game with
I
you
had
too.
an editor at Newsweek walk into my office and tell me, what she had done. Hanukkah's
Yeah.
coming up. She's getting all these gifts for the kids, and basically the reason she bought Wii Play was because they've got 2 kids. They need another controller.
And
There you go.
if the sales of Wii Play, what are you doing?
You can't do that in the news
You're
segment.
the guys who talked about fucking Rock Band for 10 minutes. If you look at the success of Wii Sports in Japan, where it was not a pack-in, it makes you think, they probably in America should not have packed it in.
Do you want to get into, speaking of Japan
Yeah,
and
Shane,
Wii
you got it
sales?
really
Yeah,
quick.
well, I think we should
Depressing,
kill NPD for a second here. Other things, FIFA on PS2 had a really great debut at number 9. Half-Life 2 at the Orange Box did very well on
That was
360.
FIFA on the PS2, by the way.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
what I meant.
does anyone want to take a shot at me because I listed Orange Box in my Deadpool on Monday morning
Well,
quarterback.
people didn't know if Orange Box would sell. I mean, the name is bad, the packaging
I was kind of
is
hoping
bad.
for better numbers, to be totally honest with you.
240 is not that great.
But I would say it's fine. But based on the buzz, and I think this game is going to have legs, no question. But based on the buzz and just based on all my friends and how much value you're getting in Game of the Year contention for that game.
Let's put it this way.
Yeah.
Billy Mays
it'll be-
Hayes should be selling it to you.
It'll be interesting to see where the numbers finish, but
Yeah.
I'm suspecting that Call of Duty 4 on 360 will far outstrip it.
I agree.
And I'd be curious to see, what do you guys think about, not discount the game because they're both great, but given the value in that box, is it fair, is it right that it be so it will most likely be so far outstripped by Call of Duty 4?
I don't know. I'm not even convinced that Call of Duty 4 was marketed correctly. I feel like for a game that has a great multiplayer component, a excellent single player and presentation and very cinematic kind of game, that they've even I don't think that
Are
they're
you serious, though?
They're
All
not on
you-
people's lips.
Dude, all you need to see is you're watching whatever Daily Show on Comedy Central. You see fucking Iraq, basically Call of Duty.
Right.
That's it. You've bought the game already.
Okay.
Half-Life 2 has a way.
I don't argue that.
Orange Box has a way harder sell.
Which is
what
why
the
I
fuck
listed it
is
in my
it?
Deadpool.
Yeah, I mean it is a really hard sell, and people go off on the box art, and rightly so. But like,
was 2007 the best year for games yet?
For God's
I
sake,
thought we
don't
did
get
that
back
already.
to that.
All right, other debuts this month. Final Fantasy Tactics on PSP, respectable 98,000, not bad at all.
Not bad at all.
Not bad at all. Ratchet and Clank Future, about 75,000.
If you own a PS3, would you go buy Ratchet and Clank already? Thank you very much. That's all we need to say.
But it's a decent first showing. And PGR4,
go buy it.
PGR4 not so good at 38,000.
Yeah,
for what was once like a million selling franchise.
Jeff Keighley just owned me there. I think he was the one who had PGR4 in his Deadpool.
Yeah, not so
tired.
good, not
Well,
so
it's like what we
Not
talked
wired.
about. Forza,
Tired and done.
are you that excited for PGR?
Right.
You're still playing Forza.
Well, and right now, so far, the race for best-selling game of the year is a very dead heat between Halo 3's multiple SKUs and Pokemon Diamond and Pokemon Pearl. They're about tied.
Has not Halo 3 pulled ahead of that?
It's right now about 100,000 ahead. But
It's ahead.
by the end of the year, I
It's
think
ahead.
End of the year, I say Pokemon beats it.
Shane, just one thing you said
Really?
earlier, though, about the PSP hardware sales being good and whatnot, and which is true, and they are, but we all need to keep our eyes on the software numbers. Like, it's not a healthy ecosystem. And one of the
It never
things-
has been.
Gamasutra did a post about...
But there are so many things you can do with the PSP besides play games.
Yeah, and
As opposed to a DS. Like, what are you going to do in DS besides play games?
As long as you have Handbrake.
I
Picto Chat.
I agree. I'm just saying that
Yeah, finish
It's
what you were
inter-
saying
it's-
about Gamasutra.
yeah, the Gamasutra did a thing about EA's one of EA's financial reports, and it showed the revenue split among various platforms. And PSP, their revenue has declined. And my guess is when you look at the numbers, part of the reason it's declined is actually because they're putting out less games for PSP.
Interesting.
And so here you have a thing like where the hardware is picking up, but the software sales are not picking up.
Yeah, but
the
where
software
was-
releases
Well,
are
yeah,
not picking
Where
up.
was DS on that list of EAs, though?
Above PSP, and I
Was
agree,
it?
I agree with
Yeah.
you. I agree with you.
Interesting.
If you go
Oh,
to
yeah.
ebgames.com right now and go to PSP and go to coming soon, and see what's coming out next year, there's like 5 games. I mean, there's obviously a lot more than that
Final Fantasy, at least.
that are in the works. Yeah, that's in March, but like long term, a lot of people are like, "Well, what is coming from PSP?"
So to add the footnote to the NPDs, especially as far as hardware goes, Price Cut has apparently, according to at least Sir Howard Stringer, doubled the sales of the PS3 already. In a conversation with the Associated Press, he said that they have sold over 100,000 consoles in America in the week ending of November 11th. So it's pretty easy to take like over 100,000, multiply that times 4. They would immediately shoot into second place if they were able to maintain that momentum throughout all of November.
yeah, the November NPDs are going to be incredibly interesting.
They're going to be very competitive.
We knew October. I mean, I'm surprised, honestly, that October wasn't below September, simply because, but they sort of balanced it out because they did announce a cheaper SKU, but they cut the price on the 80 gig.
Right.
I thought it would actually take their numbers down way more because people are like, well, I'm just going to wait for the $399.
Right.
But the message was muddled because the 80 gig has more backwards compatibility. I got to say, I'm still shocked that Sony went from having the most backwards compatible console
Yep.
to the least backwards
So
compatible
quickly. So quickly.
console.
You in
and
the
me
blink of an
both.
eye.
Yeah.
You and me both.
Okay, so we've had that argument. Now, we won't hold them to the fire because they've never been held to the fire for these sort of quotes before. But Stringer also was incredibly putting a lot of weight on this price shift. He said to the Associated Press, "It's the breakthrough we've been anticipating. We've been holding our breath." He says, "Finally, the turning point has been passed, and it's a little fortuitous that the Wii is running out of hardware."
All of this price drop stuff, like, it's great and it's very necessary, and there are some good PS3 games finally coming out, Uncharted, Ratchet,
Yes.
etc. But PS3 does not have its Halo, its Gears.
Okay.
And probably won't until Metal Gear or Final
I
Fantasy.
think it's arguable that Uncharted is its Gears in a lot of ways.
Really?
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Wow, dude, you put a lot of weight on
You
Uncharted
think Uncharted's going to sell 3 million?
Here's the difference is they don't have the install base. If Ratchet and Clank is only doing a few, what was it, 72,000?
74.
74,000. Come on. Don't put that weight on Uncharted. Uncharted is a great game that has a lot
But
of
I'm saying
future potential.
it's kind of a lot like Gears in that it's very visually impressive and,
No, it's not, because
steals a lot
Gears-
of gameplay from Gears.
But Gears already had so much installed base to play off of.
I think the important difference, though, is sort of like, I mean, sadly, unfortunately, it's probably going to end up being like a weird cross between Cameo and Gears, right? Because I think that, and look, developers need to be free to make the games that inspire them, the games that they want to make in consultation with the publishing side. I do question the extent. I just do question whether the fantasy that they're presenting in Uncharted is one that enough people share to sort of drive it to those numbers. When you look at Gears, you could see how from very early on that Gears was going to be a success. It was very much in the Alien mode. They threw a bit of CNN in with the roadie run and all that kind of stuff. That was the kind of stuff that was going to make success. And even if you had asked David Jaffe now, I mean, I did an interview with him in July, ran it months later, like I tend to do on my blog. And basically what Jaffe was saying was that in hindsight, he would have rappered that game, Calling All Cars, in very different fiction, in a very different look.
I mean,
and I just question whether, I mean, Uncharted
that's
looks
my whole
beautiful.
thing with Uncharted.
It's a lot of fun, but whose fantasy is 1930s era-ish, even though it's contemporary Pulp Fiction?
That's been my thing with Uncharted from the beginning. Is not that it doesn't look like a good game, it's not that it doesn't play well. It's that, like, I'm just not in the world and the guy and the art direction and the design. So it feels like Tomb Raider 1996 to me.
Well, but without the boobs and the butt cheeks.
Yeah, but are you criticizing it for not starring a bald Space Marine? I mean,
no.
And are you criticizing for Sony for not being able to pigeonhole?
Shane, I'm not criticizing for anything, but are 3 million people going to buy it for not being that bald Space Marine?
He might be criticizing it for not having C cups in a green T-shirt.
Well, that too, but I think it's arguable also that the Xbox 360 audience, it is very easy for a publisher or a developer to zero in on what they like and to replicate that. Whereas, like, what does the PS3 owner want or like, really?
All right, so on this subject, let me just add a little bit of fuel for those who might be considering a PS3 for this fall. Insomniac, who has done some great games already, their chief creative officer, Brian Hastings, was interviewed over at videogamer.com, and he had some interesting things to say. The most important of which was that I think we'll see just as big a leap from the second generation engine, speaking about generations of engines on PS3, to our third generation as we have from the first to the second. Can you imagine if that was if that's even half correct, the PS3 engine of third generation would be jaw-droppingly amazing.
I mean, I would ask you to look at a PS1 game from 1995 and a PS1 game from 1999.
Right.
Or the same PS2.
Not exactly a surprise.
Or a PS2 game from 2000 and a PS2 game from this year.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, even Insomniac, and for them, I mean, the Resistance ran at 30 frames, Ratchet's at 60 frames, and there's more stuff. I mean, there's stuff in Ratchet where your jaw's gonna be on the floor, just like all those particles, all those effects, all those.
He spoke to that actually.
So whatever, that kind of stuff. But I mean, clearly that's gonna happen. The only problem for Sony is that it's not clear that that's not going to happen on 360
right.
as well. And look at the gap.
That's the rub.
Look at the gap. Even though, I mean, we talked about Mass Effect, it's having trouble maintaining its frame rate, but Mass Effect is a leap ahead of Gears of War, and even honestly, maybe this helps Sony a little bit when they finally release Unreal Tournament 3. That's a leap ahead in the sense of it's Gears quality graphics with a richer color palette at a higher frame rate.
But you talk about the leap ahead. Here's where we continue to have the argument in what we're seeing right now, which is that Orange Box PS3 still not in stores. You can't walk into a store right now and buy that game.
Well, and I tell you, we got the review builds, I think, or preview review builds in this week, and it doesn't run as well. I mean, and that's not shocking.
It's not shocking, right. And the reason is because, as one of the executives at Midway said, and as Dave Carricker said before he left, I mean, look, because of the way the PS3 is architected versus the way the 360 is architected, the ideal way to develop for publishers who want to do stuff that's either looks the same across all platforms or takes advantage of both is to lead on PS3. But again, when you go back to the Gama Sutra piece and you look at where EA is making its money, there is no incentive for EA to lead on PS3.
Right.
It's better for them to push it on 360 and max that out as much as possible and let PS3 be catch as catch can.
You know what?
That's where the money is.
There is incentive for DivX, but it comes from a very interesting source. If you're a fan of DivX, what might you be watching? Well, whatever you might be watching, you could be soon watching it on your PS3. If you have the 2.0 firmware, which was a very recent update, you know that the PS3 now recognizes but won't play. Hold on, we know at least one supporter.
I'm so tired. People give me shit for it every time I mention it, but I hate updating my PS3 every other week. It took me 11 minutes. I timed it. Right. It took me exactly 11 minutes this week to update my PS3.
So you would rather have quarterly updates than weekly updates?
Yes. I would rather it be significant updates less often and make
Mark,
them
but this
worth
is
something.
This is DivX we're talking about. An 11-minute update for 2 minutes of pleasure. You're not willing to make that happen?
Wait, you think you can last 2 minutes?
I mean, DivX is a good format, and a lot of like really hardcore people are.
You're right. You're right. A lot of
hardcore
people.
are into DivX.
The new themes are really cool. I like the new themes, custom themes. People are making some cool stuff with the PS3. I'm all about it. But like the other 11 updates I had before now.
2.0 also, something people aren't really talking about, it totally changed the video chat.
Yeah, come on. Please don't sell me on 2.0 because
Yeah,
I don't
why
want
aren't people talking about that? Oh, yeah, that's right, because no one fucking cares.
Exactly. Is this the worst? Oh, we're going to advance actually from 1 point something to 2.0 there's.
I mean, we've already talked. Again, it doesn't have in-game XMB, and that sucks.
Exactly. That's what everyone fucking needs.
They're,
in-game XMB with video chat. Then I would care.
They're waiting for home.
Why was this not 1.95?
1.999. I don't know.
Or 1.9, whatever.
It's the holiday season.
Home. Why is home not even fucking baiting this fall?
We had the answer already last week. Because already they say it's not a stats.
Wait.
I know.
Hey, shut the fuck up. Okay, here's a little rumor. People love my rumors.
Yeah. You got great rumors.
People love my rumors.
You got great rumors, Shane.
One up yours rumor coming.
Yeah, let's hear this batch.
Home beta before Christmas. There you go.
For everyone?
For everybody.
For all?
Really?
Wow.
Okay, I need to interject here.
Wait, for anybody, though.
We'll see.
Interject.
we can do the Mario Galaxy thing. So Mario Galaxy in Japan, it's been out for 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
Yes.
And at the end of those 2 weeks, the sales are way less than people expected. It's around 350,000, 370,000.
So what's the story?
Yeah, so let me ask you that. Given that New Super Mario Brothers still sells at record rates, do you take it as like an indictment of Mario in 3D from the Japanese audience? They love Super Mario. They're buying Pepsi caps by the dozens of the first game, and because that's an update of the 2D game, there was not that love for Mario 64.
Nobody knows the answer, but the truth is Mario Party 8 in its first 2 weeks of release earlier this year, not even holiday time, outsold Mario Galaxy, and New Super Mario Brothers clearly outsold Mario Galaxy in its first 2 weeks of release. So maybe people like Mario on DS, but the people who have Wiis don't like Mario. Like it's a mystery. Nobody really understands.
I don't think it's that much of a mystery, though.
Well, you know what's best? If you've never met Shane, it's really great. You missed the whole dramatic aspect of it's a mystery. With Shane holding his hand out, it's a mystery.
It's holding an orb of mystery. No, and people say, well, maybe Mario will pick up during Christmas because like a lot of people in Japan buy games for their kids in December, and maybe that's going to happen.
Let's boil this down real quick.
No, here's the argument.
Are you arguing that Mario is going to be a failure in Japan?
Well, compared to how we'll do in America and Europe, yes.
Yes.
Are you
compared to America and Europe, yes.
Well, and here's the thing. I mean, before you sort of gave your full explanation, I was going to say that it was because it was on the Wii, and that maybe Japan is proving itself to be a one platform, not even just a one console country, a one platform country with the success of the DS. But what you just said, the fact that Mario Party was more successful, takes me back to something in 2001, I went over to Japan. I was going to do the round table to end all round tables. I was going to have Sakaguchi. I was going to have Kojima. I was going to have Miyamoto. I was going to have it was going to be Mikami. It was going to be insane because I was so naive and thought I could make it happen.
Right.
And what I ended up with was Itagaki, Mikami, and Rez.
Oh yeah,
Mizuguchi.
That's not bad.
So it's pretty fucking hot,
dude. Guys.
That's still pretty damn good.
It was pretty good. And what Mikami said something interesting about game difficulty. He said that when games first came out, the first several years of games, is that in terms of difficulty, people wanted to scale mountains.
Okay.
And now they want to have a gentle hike.
Yeah, it's funny.
And it was making it hard for developers like him.
That is a very Japanese approach, but I agree with it 100%.
Given the RE remake question when you first started, do you want to just go on a gentle hike or do you want to climb mountains? That's interesting. That's what Mikami said.
That's what he said. That's how he described it. And so the thing is that, I mean, I don't know for me, you've played it, I haven't, so I don't know how difficult it is, but
it's hard.
Look at what happened with Enuma, right? And with
Twilight Princess versus Phantom Hourglass.
Exactly. And so clearly, even Nintendo, as much as they're printing money, is having trouble adjusting across all their platforms to how the expectations their audiences have.
And everyone kind of agrees that Wii Fit, which comes out in a few weeks in Japan, is probably going to outsell Galaxy.
Oh, no question.
No question.
No question.
Will.
And how much, Shane, do you think, or do you, Mark, think that fanboys are going to have to be concerned in the sense of if that happens, what's that going to push Nintendo to do?
Well, but it's the same thing that happened last year with Twilight Princess. It sold 1 million copies in America in 2 weeks, but in Japan it struggled to sell like a fourth of that.
Right. But here is the thing. The thing with Nintendo is like different than other companies. When they have these successes with casual games, to you and to me, it is a very much like real. Okay, if these guys are working on Wii Fit or they're working on Mario Party or they're working on whatever, and I think Mario Party is going to sell better than Mario Galaxy because it has the word party in the title. And people who buy Wii,
they like they like parties.
They want a game that they're going to pull out when their family's there. They're not playing the games alone at all. And guy, it's like the guy on your blog,
right?
who's playing games with his kid, and it's like, if you're playing with your kid, you're probably better off playing that. I do think, and this is a separate subject, Nintendo is doing really interesting things with Mario Galaxy. It's too bad people in Japan are not playing it because you can play it with your kid or whatever. They're doing amazing things with like playing with your grandma or playing with whoever.
You know what's going to amaze you actually even more than that is what more people are playing in Japan than they were before? Xbox 360. No, this is true. This is from Game Daily, from the latest Famitsu, from the period ending October 1st,
Ace Combat, the mighty Ace Combat,
has pushed Microsoft's Xbox 360 hardware over its predecessor.
That's true. Xbox 360 has finally outsold Xbox.
So it sold 474,000 units, exceeding the original Xbox total of 470.
Which, mind you, Xbox One in Japan never sold out its initial shipment on day one. If you go buy an Xbox One in Japan, you're buying one from day one.
But this is not a bad thing, right?
No, it's a good thing. It shows they are incrementally increasing over the previous generation.
And so to shift things over to the Microsoft front for a little while, Xbox Live about to turn 5 years old, which we just talked about last week, and they're actually doing some very interesting things. So among them,
downloadable games.
games. I'm going to get downloadable games last because there's a lot to cover on that topic. So
why are they not talking about? Have they come and talked about what's going to be in their fall update yet?
That is actually very strange that they have not brought that to us.
Yeah, what's up? We're in fucking November now.
That is kind of a whole other subject.
But all the things we've heard is that it's a big update with a lot of new blades and new channels.
Are we getting the clan? Are we getting the clan blade?
Well, let's put it this way: the fall firmware update,
personally.
Really.
Which should be coming roughly around the first week in December, will include.
That's kind of a winter update at that point.
Winter starts in January, December 21st.
You're like a couple of girls. It's fucking horrible. It's like, wait a minute, it's winter. Oh, hold on. Which shoes can I wear?
All right, continue.
So for the update, you're going to get a couple of things already. If you have an Xbox Live membership right now, on the 15th and the 16th, you need to log in. You'll be able to get one arcade game for free, whatever you want.
Oh, joy.
That's actually a cool deal. Wait, why do you say oh, joy? That's a cool deal.
I'm happy. Go on.
I'm going to grab Puzzle Quest. What are you grabbing? What are you grabbing?
I don't know. Fucking Super Contra.
What are you going to grab?
Catan.
What are you going to grab?
I'm going to grab E4 because I wouldn't.
Oh, dude, E4 is shit. Dude, it is the shit.
Good answer.
E4 is
saying something is shit versus the shit, very different.
I'll change my answer.
Whatever. People are listening to know exactly what I mean.
Continue.
And also, if you have had a membership that started in 2000 and is that 2? Yes, 2002 when it started.
Yes.
You also get 500 Microsoft points added to your account.
That I'm happy about.
Not a bad, exchange for the $250 you've given them.
Exactly.
Wait,
really?
No. I'm not even going to argue about it any more than that.
Just saying.
The other big update is that they're going to institute this new service on 360, which will be called Xbox Originals, which will allow you to download Xbox games for the equivalent of $15 bucks?
12? I thought it was 12.
1,200
achievements.
points.
$15 US, 1,200 Microsoft points, which is $15 US, and you'll be able to download the original Xbox games and play them. So
no achievements. How hard would it have been to add achievements or online play to Halo 1? Come on.
They're not recoding them. They're just being emulated.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the truth. I would say actually it probably would have required a lot of work to put achievements and especially online play into Halo.
I mean, they've already warned that some of the features, because they're just emulated, don't work quite right. right?
Well, that's the rest of the story. So
Yeah.
some of the games are not going to work optimally. They have a Xbox Originals known issues page already that includes issues such as Halo has frame rate drops, Crimson Skies has flickering, Fable has audio static. It's not going to be perfect.
Fusion Frenzy, virtually unplayable.
And from talking and from reading around the
Crash Bandicoot 6, you're best off not downloading that one, all right?
Just stay the fuck away.
from reading around the forums, the other argument is, wait, I can go to EB and buy most of these games for $4.99.
Right.
Well, you can't.
You know what? Add achievements. It's just fucking add achievements. Give people 500 points for finishing the game. You're gonna get a shitload more right there.
I got a question for you, Mark, because N-Guy and I were talking about this on the way down. Do you care about achievements anymore?
I do.
Because John and I used to have this argument, and I got to tell you,
No, dude. Trust me, everyone cares about achievements. When it comes down to it, if you're deciding between the PS3, if you're deciding between the PS3 or the 360 version, or you're deciding between playing the pre-release or waiting a week for the final version, that's when it matters if you care about achievements or not. Everyone cares about achievements.
I don't really care so much.
Yeah, you do.
Actually, I don't.
You do.
You're probably.
I really don't.
I'm telling you that you do. And what I would do to prove it is I would put in
I'm
front
Shane
of you.
Benhausen, and that's the way it is.
What I would do to prove it is that I would put in front of you the PS3 and the 360 version of any game, and you would take the 360 version because you want those fucking
Sure,
points.
at that point. But for instance, if there's a PS3 version of a game floating around the office and not a 360 version, I'm going to go home and play PS3. I
no
don't care.
shit.
Well,
Hello.
To take it.
But we used to would have waited. To tell you the truth, we used to would have waited. We used to would have said, "Oh,
No,
I want the achievement."
I was never that sick. And guy, what are you saying?
John was.
I was going to say, to take it home on the Xbox Originals point is, it makes me wonder if Sony, and this just kind of shows the jam that Kutaragi's design on PS3 and where they are now got them to, is that did Sony cut off its nose to spite its face?
What do you mean?
In order to
Which
push
time?
in order to push the price of the hardware down by removing all of the PS2 tech. Let me finish. Did they cost themselves the opportunity to sell PS2 games to new PS3 owners? And the reason why I think it's more meaningful on PS2 than on Microsoft. To me, on Microsoft, ultimately, it's kind of more a PR thing and kind of more a reflection of they've got a really kind of hardcore gamer on there who likes to buy a lot of games. So there's a decent business, but I don't think it'll be huge. Mm-hmm. But when you look at the PS2 catalog, again, PS2 is most likely the most successful console in history.
That's exactly.
And
We're
given
talking
all
about
the games that came out,
Hold on,
given
let
all
me-
the people that
we're
didn't
talking
buy
about
Eco,
the
that didn't buy
ultimate
Shadow of the
big
Colossus,
dog.
that didn't buy Manhunt 2, didn't get all these games. If Sony had been able to sell those games and help
Yes.
third parties establish a business,
Yes.
that could have been a
Yes.
Well,
significant
no
business.
other
Yes.
company may ever equal PS2 as the ultimate big dog, ruler of the den, absolute walk into the place and own it of PlayStation
There's
2.
a post I want to get to on that point, is that third parties, my whole series about like Tokyo we have a problem and Redmond we have a problem, I didn't do Kyoto we have a problem, trust me guys.
Yeah, is it coming?
Eventually.
One day.
There was one post I wanted to do that was going to be like, I was going to pick all the cities that had the major events like, Santa Monica and Leipzig and Tokyo, and it was going to be about third parties problems, is that when the PS2 finally expires, third parties are going to miss it.
Yeah.
Because
Yes, they will.
while it was kind of hard to develop for.
What do you mean when?
Didn't
What do
have
you mean
when? It's going to happen eventually. It's not there yet. But
I
when
think they
PS2
already
finally
miss
goes
it.
away,
Because
they already
here's
do
where
miss it.
Here's where Sony has dropped the ball. Why do we not have a $99 PlayStation 2?
Because
for
they're
this
still
Christmas?
moving nearly 200,000 units a month.
Yeah.
It'll get down there eventually. Here's
One of the
thing.
questions we threw away.
The new redesign is clearly a precursor to that, because by
Right.
getting rid of the external power supply, they're positioning themselves
So one of the
to
questions-
make mad money on the $99 version.
One of the 4-minute warnings we threw away was a $99 PS2 with a motion controller. What would that do to the marketplace?
What? With a motion controller? What are you doing?
Let me
Splitting.
Let me speak here for a second. I still believe that the decision to remove PS2 backwards compatibility from the 40 gig SKU was a huge mistake, but PS3s that do play PS2 games are still on the market, and you can buy them.
Yes, they do.
And Sony has a plan in place to make PS2 games downloadable via PlayStation Store.
I'm in support of that.
However, they really can't do it yet because that'll offend retailers because PS2 is still viable.
Right. Wait.
And for those who
I
called
can
me
give you
out,
guys an exclusive on this front. You guys want an exclusive?
Give it.
Sure.
I can put it out here. So, GameStop. Garnet, was that your old employer?
well,
Technically,
sorry,
both. Yeah, technically.
Electronics Boutique, but
There you go.
whatever.
Same here.
All right. So, I broke the story on my Level Up blog that people were going to be able to buy a naked version of Warhawk, just the disc, not the headset, right? And the way I found out about that was because of a story I was chasing down, that there was tension between GameStop and Sony over downloadable content.
It's huge.
There's a
Dude,
huge
it's
amount
massive,
of
and it's
tension.
not just Sony.
Right.
The only thing that happened is that GameStop effectively made an example of
And
Sony
Guy-
because, according to my reports, let me just finish. According to my reports, what happened was GameStop was upset that the DLC version, the downloadable version of Warhawk came out on the PlayStation Store before it was available at retail. And so what they did in retaliation was they said, all right, we're going to fulfill our pre-orders. You guys come back to our stores and pick up the rest of the copies and take them back.
Ouch.
And that actually happened.
Yeah.
Wow.
That actually happened. And
7 years ago, when I was
Ouch.
working for Electronics Boutique, we had a digital distribution system in place, and it was such a threat to the brick and mortar stores that it was shuttered, shut down, and pushed aside and dealt with because that is the threat, isn't it?
Well,
that is
and
ultimately
secretly, the big three, they want nothing more than to get rid of the used game market. And
oh,
the way
yeah.
to get rid of that
Well, let's not even go to the used game. Let's not
digital-
even go to the used
No, but
game
that is
market.
that is where EB GameStop makes a lot of its money.
That is where they make all.
It is.
No, not a lot. That's where they make all
It's
their money.
ridiculous.
I mean,
now.
that's the white elephant in this room.
Oh, yeah,
is
completely.
That is what is completely happening.
That is
But
that whole thing with
100%.
Best Buy when they were going to start offering used games and
Oh,
how
yeah.
they started throwing up shit. It's like, hello, now that GameStop and EB are merging, like that is the white elephant in the room. That is the
and
fucking
it is.
shit.
This, from what
But
I'm hearing,
don't
from what I'm hearing from my sources, this tension is not. Sony was just the first. I mean,
Yeah. Sony is pushing the envelope.
GameStop is not going to allow itself to be disintermediated without a fight.
Right.
But publishers want to do this.
Right.
And so
Throwing the
we're gonna
gloss
see
down.
crazy
Dis-
tension.
Of course they do.
Intermediated.
It's pure profit. And Microsoft can do this right now because the Xbox One market was murdered by Microsoft.
Yes.
You know?
Yes,
but
they were.
And that's not
But
going to. That's
Sony cannot do this. Sony right now, if they were to do this with the PS2 games on PS3, EB GameStop would not be
But
happy.
as I can,
either
so
with
let me
Best
tell
Buy,
you,
either with Circuit City.
No.
Look at last Christmas's
Okay.
sales numbers of
Right.
PS2.
used games. Everybody benefits except for the publisher.
Right.
The user
And
benefits
the developer,
because-
arguably.
right.
Okay, right. Also, developer side.
The retailer and the user benefits, the developer and the publisher does not benefit at all.
Absolutely. But you cannot shut that marketplace down because it doesn't make any sense in a free market economy. I can go buy a used car. I can go buy a used house. I can go buy anything else used, but you can tell me I can't go buy a game? Come on.
I mean, packaged goods, like
You
packaged
can't-
goods, are they here
can
to
you
stay?
Can you buy Windows used?
No, you can't.
I'm not
Zing.
I'm not carrying water for the
Zing.
publishers. I'm just sort of saying that's their argument.
Windows is an operating system and is a wholly different sort of. It's an environment in which other things exist.
Well, can you buy used Adobe Premiere or Photoshop?
You know what? Honestly, I should be able to. If someone else has, here's the problem: is
Communist. Go back to Russia.
All right. Anyway,
All right, let's move along.
this is a very deep subject that we're not going to.
This
shit's
is
getting-
probably a second
Wow, this shit
segment
is
for
getting
some
this
further
shit's
show.
getting epic up.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's getting
Last-
epic all up
Get
in
a little
this.
epic up in here.
Last week, you threw a little rumor out there, which was that there was going to be a significant first-party Microsoft.
Yeah,
Xbox
Shane, I
360.
think we need to use this power for good. I think we need to think of some more rumors that you might have that
Here you
might.
go.
People came crawling out to say, no, our game hasn't been canceled.
I would like to say this thank you very much for respecting the One Up Yours podcast.
Yeah.
We love you too.
Shane, let's throw something
When
out there.
is Dennis coming down?
The press tour got canceled. apparently. Okay. Yeah, apparently the next time we'll be hearing from Dennis is like January. I'm bummed.
Mr. Dyack, we enjoy talking with you. Come down and see us.
Trust me, he wants nothing more than to be on.
Come down and see us. Don't worry about Alex or any of those other guys.
From what I'm hearing, a lot of people want to be on this podcast, like
myself,
that's a whole
but
other
others. Subject.
I won't name names, but I know a lot of people want to come on this show.
We're anyway.
But Shane, I think you should use this power for good. I think you should come up with some rumors that would have like a positive aspect to people denying.
Like Guitar Hero DLC dropping in price?
I mean, nobody likes
stuff like that.
Nobody likes games getting canceled, and I was really surprised by the response that people were offended that I implied that people were looking for.
Well, you did kind of oversell it, I think, a little bit.
Well, just because, Joe, whoever, isn't interested in this incredibly popular license in a genre that the publisher has never been able to successfully publish on console.
But you sold it as, and people took it as the fact that the video game was highly anticipated.
Yeah, but the idea that in the world,
the
idea that in the world there are more people excited in this world that there are more people excited for Alan Wake than a Marvel Comics licensed MMO is retarded.
Are you saying that it's the Marvel Comics MMO?
Hold on. I want everybody who's listening to know that I was going to break things right there, but you're full of shit. Alan Wake is so much more interesting than Marvel Comics.
But Shane, you underestimate people's interest in different series.
I'm more excited for Alan Wake than I am a Marvel MMO.
Well, here's the thing.
However, I love Silent Hill.
Thank you for making my point.
As a regular listener of the show, however, there were two parts to the rumor.
There were two parts.
Indeed.
Okay,
so apparently, Shane, you seem to be confirming that the Marvel MMO.
Well, okay, Garnet, read your story.
Well, so the bottom line to all this is, after much investigation, it does seem that the Marvel Universe Online has a number of hurdles to overcome if it is going to come ultimately to fruition. Those would be namely that NCSoft has acquired a significant amount of the City of Heroes teams over at Cryptic Studios, who was working on this title. So, come on, let's be serious about this. If you're working on City of Heroes, which is superhero-based game, and you're also working on a title that might be, comic book based.
The Marvel MMO was announced. There's a teaser trailer. It's not like a mysterious game that was never announced.
I'm saying, but no one. Here's the deal: no one ever said who the team members were.
Right.
Okay, so regardless, the bottom line.
So is that what killed it? That basically NCSoft stole a bunch of the team?
That seems to be what might have injured it.
There's more.
The background is that we know that, like True Fantasy Online, Microsoft pulled the plug on.
We know they bailed on Asherons.
We know they bailed on Asherons. And
I use the word bailed because it starts with B.
So what are they?
You love the Killer Bees.
Killer Bees.
And what's disconcerting here is that no one will say anything other than it's coming. Well, okay, it's coming. So what? What's coming? Who's working on it? What's it going to be? Give us something more.
Well, what's coming, according to Shane, is that an exec is leaving Microsoft. I want to know who that is.
Well, that was the other part of it, wasn't it?
Interesting, isn't it? Isn't one of these rumors a little more substantiated than the other?
Do you watch N-Guy, do you watch any Nickelodeon, like Something Possible?
Love it.
Rumors about Microsoft.
Something Possible.
Rumors about Microsoft canceling games and rumors about people leaving Microsoft aren't new. We've been having these for 5 years, and it's the leakiest company around. It is. A lot of times these things turn out to be true. I'm just saying, when I hear things from a lot of people,
right. And these are rumors, and sometimes you know a little more about them. Sometimes they are just strictly things you have heard.
Right.
One of these was something you kind of knew something more about. One of these is something you kind of just heard.
Which is something that Engadget plays a lot in. I love Engadget. You read Engadget?
Sometimes.
You should read Engadget. I have it on my phone. I check it out on the bus in the morning. Evan Wilson, who is a Pacific Crest Securities analyst, has apparently seen the next iteration of the DS. Now, what's very funny is they put this forward as the evolution of the DS, the next DS, but it's really not the next DS. It's much like
DS Lite Plus.
DS Lite Plus, exactly.
DS Anorexic?
Well, there would be
with 100% less GBA.
100% less GBA. So what they're showing is basically a DS Lite that's thinner, has larger screens, built-in storage, and it cuts the Game Boy Advance port altogether.
I'd buy it again. Third DS?
Oh,
sure.
Shane.
How many GBAs do I have? Like 7? Come on.
I don't know.
Is that it? Like, I've been beaten before. I'll take it and be happy again.
I mean,
that is sort of the Nintendo hardware approach.
Right. How often do I put GBA carts in? Not very often. How much would I like bigger screens and storage? A lot.
That's true.
That's a great question. When was the last time you played a GBA cartridge?
I mean, I do once in a while bring GBA games with me.
What do you play?
I do too. Old Zelda games.
I recently played some of what were those weird GBA games that came out, like Coloris and
Bit Generation.
How recently?
I played a bunch of Bit.
How recently?
In September, I played several Bit Generation titles on my DS.
The sad thing is that arguably, as my unnamed source would say, is that there probably still isn't crossover between supply and demand on the DS. But the DS Lite redesign is so good.
Have you seen it?
No. I'm just saying the original, the DS Lite, the one we have in stores right now. The redesign is so good that A, it's what they should have released first.
Yes.
B,
that is for sure.
It's so good that even when that DS slim, thin Nicole Richie comes out, they can probably still sell DS Lites and move them.
Yeah, that is the sad part of this whole thing. We all will buy it. We can say what we want. We all will buy it.
Right. I mean, it's the same thing. GBA to GBA SP. GBA was a piece of shit. You know, and GBA SP was amazing.
Yep.
And then GBA Micro, who really needs it? Hopefully this new one is better than that. You know?
Nintendo doesn't need any help because they've done an excellent job at marketing to all of North America. A recent Zogby poll, is that the correct way to say it, Ngai?
Yes, sir.
Ngai informed me that this is actually a very reputable poll service.
One of the most.
They have found that Mario shows up whether you're red, blue, or purple. I didn't even know purple, but purple is apparently those middle-of-the-roaders who are kind of part red, part
the moderates.
Doesn't matter. You're going to play Mario games. Nintendo hitting on all bases. And who would be the group that...
But it makes sense, though. I mean, because isn't Mario's outfit red and blue?
It is.
That is.
I'm just saying.
That doesn't necessarily make them purple.
No, it doesn't. But
he's a working man, but he's very rich.
Okay, so
a lot of coins.
According to their poll, if you're in the blue, you play predominantly Mario and The Sims.
Blue being liberals.
If you're conservative or red, you play Madden and Mario. And if you're purple, you play Mario, Donkey Kong, and Madden. That makes Madden the runner-up.
This is retarded.
That story's retarded.
Move on.
If you
do they play solitaire too?
Probably. We have more polls. We have more polls. The Associated Press and AOL Games have done another poll, which was reported through Yahoo News. They showed that 43% of parents whose children play games never play those games with them. Parents, by the way,
shock and awe.
Well, so this week. WhatTheyPlay.com, which is John Davison, who's not here. He was out of town. But if you keep in with John, his new thing is to bring to the internet a resource for parents without any agenda, not beholden to any PR sources whatsoever. Of this is what's in the games. If you have kids, here's the kind of content that they're going to be looking at in the game. Not a is it good or is it bad, but here's what's in it.
And actually,
it's kind of like the nutrition that you see, the nutrition information that you see on the side of a box,
and it plays a lot into like a lot of the stuff you're talking about on your blog recently, like the hard casual stuff.
Yep.
A lot of the stuff. Hey, I've got like a 3-year-old. I grew up with games. Is this something I play with my kid or not?
ESRB descriptors aren't necessarily descriptive enough.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So to follow up on this poll from the Associated Press and AOL Games, the unfortunate part is that while 57% do actually play games with their children, over half of them estimate that they only spend less than an hour a week with their kids. So
of course, it's the new TV. You leave your kids with it. It's the new babysitter. Surprise!
I grew up playing games since I was a little kid, and how often did my mom and dad play with me?
No,
not very often.
And look how Shane turned out.
Yeah, this is the future of America. God bless America.
So I'm not surprised, Mark, but it does actually bug me some, because at the same time, you're going to find that those are the people who are the most adamant and vocal about getting in.
You know what, though? It's the same like everything else. It's going to get better as people like you and me, if God forbid we ever have kids, like you're going to, John's going to play games with their kids. People are just more educated about this stuff. People who grew up with games are going to be more educated about that. It's just an inevitable thing. The old generation is going to die off.
I got to say, the people I know that work in and around the industry, and by saying in and around, I mean people who are journalists like yourselves, and people like John, and others that I know, and people who work in the industry, actually work for publishers, are very mindful about the media consumption of their kids, including games.
Right. Agreed.
So on the other side of the pond, the British Labour MP Keith Vaz has continued to follow down the stereotype alley, which would be, he asked of the Secretary of State of the Home Department, how many games, this would be for the UK, how many violent games and murders were judged to be linked in some way to the violent video games occurred in the past 10 years? Fortunately, the Parliamentary Office in the UK, Secretary Vernon Coker, answered that the office does not collect information on how many violent attacks and murders are judged to be linked to violent video games. It's kind of sad because in the UK, they still continue to be kind of on this witch hunt thing, right?
I couldn't be more over England and how they treat games.
Yeah.
Seriously, it offends me in every way, and I don't really want to talk about it.
Yep. Next.
All right, so, and we're going to wrap it up on a good note. And the good note is there's lots of awesome downloadable content coming. If you like music games, if you like...
Who doesn't?
Whether you have Rock Band or Guitar Hero, you're about to have a lot of fun. First of all, on Guitar Hero, if you played the boss battles, and I will agree that if you have one of the other consoles other than 360, you should probably already have this stuff.
If these... Okay, before I'm going to cut you to the chase. If these songs are already in the game, why aren't they already in the game? Why did they go online and download them if they're already in the game?
Shane, I don't know.
Well, some of them, people floated a theory, though, right? I mean, some of them are free, right? On the Guitar Hero 3.
Well,
and it was that if in campaign mode or whatever, that you would still have a challenge that you couldn't practice them on your own.
Okay.
I think that was the theory floated. Who knows?
Well, again, I will tell you this: I have immensely enjoyed playing Guitar Hero. I think that the charts are fantastic. I really feel like I'm playing guitar. I have a great time rocking out.
Broken record. What else you got?
Rock Band has some incredible DLC coming.
I'm pretty excited because I like the fact that they don't force you to buy the packs, but they have packs if you want to do it.
And if you do the packs, you save some money.
Yeah.
This is where competition is going to help all.
Well, this is where having MTV and EA as your partners it's like the 10,000-pound sledgehammer. You're just going to beat the crap out of everybody.
I got to say, I hate to praise, I'm a relatively lefty guy. I hate to praise massive conglomerates. I want to bring them down, especially since they got my sister on the picket lines. But that said, I've been impressed overall with the way MTV, EA, and Harmonix have handled Rock Band. I assumed that $199 was going to be the price. They brought it in at $169 or less. The DLC,
only one guitar.
Well, they have competition.
Only one guitar.
Only one guitar, but you get the drums and the microphone. And then on the DLC, it would have been legitimate since it had been already established. They could have done it without taking too much flack of pricing it exactly the way Activision did, and they didn't do that. Not only do they give you individually priced songs,
right?
They also give you you get the 3-packs, you get the individually priced songs. You will have to pay as much as $2.99 for some songs from certain artists, but those are the realities of the marketplace. I think if you're a consumer, you're a little bummed about that, but I mean, the reality is, in order to get some of those artists to give up their music, you're going to have to pay a little more.
And let me give you the other side of the argument. As far as the reality is somehow or other Rock Band has become the leader and Guitar Hero is the underdog, and they've got to throw down some shit. Like, they got to throw down something like Back in Black for free out there. Some other songs.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
But I'm telling you, that's what they got to do. They got to throw something out there that captures people's attentions and blows up in order to get Guitar Hero 3 back in front of Rock Band.
I know Shane wants to raise up, but I'm going to drop 2 reasons that happen. One is, and you guys have talked about that some on the show, and I've heard other people say it, is that Activision, in moving the Guitar Hero franchise over to Neversoft, went hardcore with the difficulty.
They did.
And I think they completely misunderstood what the difficulty settings in that game represent. Easy should be easy. Medium is more challenging simply because now you've got 4 buttons instead of 5, but you don't have to do the slide. On hard, you're introducing the slide now. You've got to move your hands back and forth. That's where the difficulty comes in. Mm-hmm. Don't screw people on difficulty until you get to expert. On expert, it can be straight S&M. You can abuse them all day, all night. They're going to love it, but they leveled everything up. So medium is now effectively where hard was before. Hard is where expert was, and experts were impossible. That's the one thing. Number 2 is, I assumed, and I think I'm being proven out by what I'm seeing in the previews and the responses that people like you guys are having in Enthusiast Press, is the people who didn't look at the Guitar Hero, the original Guitar Hero, and say, this is DDR, I don't play that, because that's how I did. I was a mainstream guy, I was like, not interested. You guys are the ones that made Guitar Hero a hit. I assumed that the more knowledgeable gamers were going to be like, Rock Band is the experience. Guitar Hero is just the game. Rock Band's the experience. It's the fantasy. And that the cognoscenti, we're going to move over to Rock Band, that when your friends come over, Rock Band is what you're going to be playing.
Yep.
That's what I assume was going to happen.
Yep.
And I think we're seeing it borne out, is that the buzz is going to ship. The sales will definitely be with Guitar Hero and Activision, but the buzz is going to be about Rock Band.
That's totally it. Yeah, everybody is. They're making a bet on the next game, and Rock Band is it. Yep.
Mark McDonald, Newsweek's Level Up blogger, Nguy Kroll. What's the website address, by the way, for your blog?
Good Lord. Oh
do you remember now?
I've been drinking so much I'm going to get it wrong. But if you go to Newsweek.com, on the left-hand column, you're going to see voices, columns, blogs. That's where it's going to be.
Thanks, man. Much appreciate you being here.
Yeah,
always a pleasure, dude.
Always.
Thanks, guys. Very happy to be here.
For Nguy, Mark McDonald, Shane Bettenhausen. We're going to be back next week. So next week, what are we going to do?
Holiday special.
Holiday special. Black Friday special.
And
Black Friday special.
Wait, Black Friday special and no me?
Oh.
Just wrong.
Dude, that is totally wrong. Check us out at boards.oneup.com. Until next week, we are Ghost.